Chapter 372. Besides Wang Yu, there was no one else, which surprised the husband and wife team. They weren't surprised that the person in front of them was the famous Iron Ox, but that Wang Yu dared to attack alone. At this time, Noon came out from the team and pointed at Wang Yu. "You are Iron Ox?" "That's me," Wang Yu said. "I heard you were very strong." "Yes." Wang Yu nodded. Noon was speechless. "Damn, you are not modest." No matter how high an expert was, when they were praised as powerful, they would still say a few words of modesty. This brat actually accepted it very calmly. How shameless. Wang Yu smiled and didn't say anything. "Do you dare to fight 300 rounds with me?" Noon shouted again. Wang Yu looked at Noon and said, "Don't do it. You're just a cleric. Why don't you dare?" Noon looked at Wang Yu with disdain and thought to himself, "Peasant must have been killed by her." Wang Yu laughed. "No, 300 rounds is too much. 1 round is enough. You dare to look down on me." Noon was furious and waved his staff. A holy flame flew over. At the same time, a holy fireball and holy light orb flew out from behind the holy flame. Holy flame was a directional skill and couldn't be dodged, but its trajectory was slow. The holy fireball and holy light orb were faster. Wang Yu was standing on the left side of the wall. To prevent Wang Yu from grabbing him before he was hit by the holy flame, Noon's 2 skills sealed the space in front and to the right of Wang Yu. Holy flame was a silent skill. A grandmaster of combat who had lost his combat skills was at the mercy of others. Noon was only a cleric, but he could use his profession's advantages to make up for his shortcomings. He was definitely an expert. Seeing this, Wang Yu smiled faintly and leaped up, stepping on the wall to rise several meters, dodging the attacks of the holy fire and the holy light sphere. Then, Wang Yu stomped on the wall and used the momentum to jump to the midair position. Along the way, the divine flame struck Wang Yu. However, it had no effect. While it was true that divine flame could suppress skills, Wang Yu's attack was not a skill at all. Damn it! Seeing Wang Yu shamelessly dodge his skill, Wu Wu knew that the situation was not good and hurriedly retreated. By this time, Wang Yu had already landed not too far behind Dang Wu. Wang Yu switched his weapon to a long staff. Grabbing a section of the staff, he swung it against the ground, and the staff struck Dang Wu's leg. Dang Wu cried out in pain as he fell to the ground. Wang Yu walked forward and stepped on the Noon Sun with 1 foot. "Not good, go save them." When the other members of the husband and wife team saw that Noon was being stepped on, they immediately gave the order to attack. A guy who looked like an archer received the order and fired double shot at Wang Yu. Wang Yu swung his staff with 1 hand and swept away all the arrows. He raised his other hand, and a chi wave shield appeared on his arm to block the lightning in the sky. At this moment, a shield bearer charged over. Wang Yu wasn't flustered at all. She reached behind her with her right hand and pulled out a stunned thief. Then, she threw the thief onto the shield warrior's back. Bang! The thief was sent flying, and the shield bearer was also forced to stop. Wang Yu's staff moved like a dragon and struck the shield bearer's knees several times. The shield bearer knelt on the ground with a plop. In less than 3 seconds, 2 of the other 4 members of the husband and wife team had lost their ability to fight. Meanwhile, Wang Yu's foot was still stepping on Dang Wu and did not move. How is this possible? There were only 2 people left in the husband and wife team. When they saw how fierce Wang Yu was, they were so shocked that their eyeballs almost popped out. Damn, is he still human? He took 1 round to deal with 1 person, 1 round to deal with 2 people, and if all of them were melee fighters, it would probably take him 1 round to deal with 5 people. Ignoring the others, Wang Yu stepped on Dang Wu and asked, "What's your name?" Dang Wu was knocked to the ground in 1 round. He was so embarrassed that his face was red. He said softly, "Dang Wu, hoeing rice day Dang Wu." Wang Yu leaned over and touched Dang Wu's chest. "You are a man." "Nonsense, can't you tell?" Dang Wu shouted angrily. Wang Yu said embarrassedly, "I can tell, so I touched to confirm. Aren't you supposed to be a woman?" "Who told you that?" "Our team is all male," Dang Wu explained with a frown. "Is that so?" Wang Yu raised his head and looked at the others. The others hurriedly put their hands on their chests and said, "We swear we are all men." Wang Yu was puzzled. Aren't you a husband and wife team? I thought you were a couple. Bro, it's just the name of the team. Your blueberry team isn't all fruit, right? Dang Wu said helplessly. That's true. So Huang He and Hai Lu are both men too? Wang Yu asked again. They're all men. The mage said. I hate you guys the most. Tell me, do you want to return it or I'll kill you? Wang Yu asked the five. We'll return it ourselves. With that, the mage ordered in the guild channel, attack. At the same time, the mage waved his staff and gathered a lightning spell. The archer drew his bow, and 3 arrows flew towards Wang Yu in a fan shape. The shield warrior and thief got up and attacked from the front and back. The 3 arrows sealed off the left and right sides of Wang Yu, while the shield warrior and thief sealed off the front and back of Wang Yu. With the lightning spell coming from above, Wang Yu had no way to escape. Haha, Wang Yu chuckled. Grabbing Noon, he blocked the incoming arrow. Then, with a flash, he appeared behind the shield warrior and kicked the shield warrior's butt. After being kicked by Wang Yu, the shield warrior's speed increased by a lot. Charge, backstab, and the mage's lightning spell landed on Dang Wu at the same time. Dang Wu was only a cloth-armored cleric. After being tricked by Wang Yu, he died on the spot. On the side of the husband and wife team, the system prompted, our teammate Fong Chong killed our teammate Dang Wu. At this time, Wang Yu had already used Collapsing Fist and arrived in front of the archer. When the archer saw Wang Yu rushing over, he immediately ran. Wang Yu slapped his left hand and activated Cloud Grasp. The archer was grabbed by Wang Yu and turned into a white light. Seeing that the archer had been killed, the mage continued to throw grenades at Wang Yu. Wang Yu used his staff to support himself and flew over. The mage knew that speed wasn't his strong point, so he raised his staff to play the role of a close-range mage. However, he was hit by Wang Yu's staff and fell to the ground. Although the mage lying on the ground had weak techniques, his aura was not weak. With his back against the ground, he waved his staff in an attempt to block Wang Yu's attack while shouting, "Bring it on!" Wang Yu couldn't stand it any longer. She stomped on his head, and the world became quiet again. When the thief and shield warrior saw this scene, they felt a chill in their hearts and turned to run. Wang Yu chased after them and sent the last 2 out of the arena in no time. Chapter 373. System Notification. Your party member compound has been killed. System Notification. Your party member Coral has been killed at this time. Qing Ming and the other 2 had already flanked Blueberry Squad spawn point from 2 different directions. However, the sudden series of system notifications shocked the remaining 4 players. Damn, what happened to you guys? Did you get surrounded? Qing Ming asked in the channel. No. The players who sent the map replied weakly. It would have been better if they had not been surrounded, but now that they had been surrounded, they felt even more ashamed. It was the 5 of them who had surrounded Wang Yu. Then why are they all dead? Everyone was speechless. It was a 5 against 1, and they were wiped out. It was indeed embarrassing to talk about. They were killed by Iron Ox. After stammering for a long time, Afternoon still confessed. They had started a video recording for this match. Even if they did not say it, they would not be able to hide it. He killed all 5 of you by himself. Qing Ming asked in surprise. Yes, he really is an expert. Let's go back and stop him. Hearing this, Qing Ming immediately gave the command to go back and defend. The 4 of them turned around and went back the way they came. At this moment, Wang Yu was muttering in the team channel. There are still 4 more. Report their positions when you see them. Reporting in yoga, I just saw 2 people heading back. They might be looking for you. Seeing the 5 of them being wiped out, Talking Elbow was completely convinced of Wang Yu's strength. You should say that they're going to die. Rolling Mario corrected Talking Elbow's mistake in time. Roger. Wang Yu had just replied to the 2 when he saw the silhouettes of the other 4 members of the husband and wife team. The 4 of them were respectively a weapon warrior, an ice wizard, a dark warlock, and a survivor. At this moment, the 4 of them were flanking from 2 different directions. These 4 guys were men of action. They knew that Wang Yu's strength was not ordinary, so they didn't talk as much nonsense as the 5 people just now. The dark warlock Ocean Flow was the first to attack, throwing a bunch of oily green spells at Wang Yu. Wang Yu knew that this skill was called miasma. It was a very disgusting thing that could reduce the user's speed and defense, as well as continuously reduce their HP. It was also a warlock's main damage output skill. When dark warlocks PK with others, they would always use this method to slow down, and then use the dark boundary to continuously control the opponent, grinding them to death. Although miasma's damage wasn't high, and it wasn't a powerful crowd control skill, it was a directional skill that couldn't be dodged. Wang Yu was immediately covered in green. At the same time, Survivor Yellow River and Mage River Diagram skills flew close to Wang Yu's face. Huang He's skill was Crippling Arrow, while He Tu's skill was Icicle. Both skills were speed reduction skills. Seeing the coordination of the three skills, Wang Yu couldn't help but look at them in a different light. Although Wang Yu was new to the game, he had been with Xuanzhen's group of experts for a long time, so he had some experience. Wang Yu had heard from the members of the Xuanzhen sect that although deceleration skills were weak, as long as 3 or more deceleration skills hit the same target within 0.5 seconds of each other and hit the same target, there would be an immobilizing effect. Immobilized and speed reduction were both crowd control skills, so the difference between them was like heaven and earth. Miasma, Icicle, and Crippling Arrow were very different in terms of speed. Among them, Crippling Arrow was the fastest, while Miasma was the slowest. In order to ensure that all three skills hit the same person within a second of each other, the coordination of the three players was very high. Seeing that the three of them could coordinate so well, Wang Yu was shocked. Professional players really had some skill. Crippling Arrow and Icicle were skills that would trigger when they came into contact with a player, so Wang Yu didn't dare to block them with his bare hands. He could only release Chi Wave with one hand to knock away the Icicle, while his other hand used the Heaven and Earth Blade to block the arrow. Just as the two skills were dodged, the warrior Qingming had already charged in front of Wang Yu with his head lowered. Wang Yu turned around and adjusted his position and center of gravity. Then, he held his scabbard in one hand and his sword in front of his chest to block Qingming's charge. Bang! The priority of a warrior's charge skill was second only to a knight's charge among the 7 main classes. A Grandmaster of Combat couldn't possibly block it. Qingming slammed into Wang Yu and sent him flying. However, the direction in which Wang Yu flew shocked Qingming. Wang Yu should have been flying backwards after being hit, but he was flying towards Huang He and Hai Lu instead. What's going on? The other three were confused when they saw this. No matter how hard they racked their brains, they probably wouldn't be able to figure it out. The moment Wang Yu collided with Qingming, she adjusted her position and center of gravity to the side. Thus, Wang Yu was like a billiard ball that was brushed by Qingming and was knocked in the other direction. In that split second, Wang Yu had already landed at the feet of Huang He and Hai Lu. After landing, Wang Yu flipped backwards and rolled behind Hai Lu. Before Hai Lu could react, Wang Yu had already snapped his neck. Huang He, who was not far away, took the opportunity to escape to Qingming's side. Huang He, why didn't you shoot him down just now? Qingming scolded Huang He. Huang He was furious. Bullsh *T. Shoot him down for me. When Wang Yu was hit by Qingming, her flying speed was extremely fast. Although archers had the assistance of the system, allowing them to hit some moving targets, shooting a flying bird with an arrow was a super difficult action. Even with the assistance of the system, ordinary people would not be able to do it. Qingming frowned. I didn't expect this guy to be so hard to deal with. No wonder all 5 of them were taken care of that afternoon. Cut the crap. What do we do now? Huang Yi said unhappily. Wang Yu could block arrows and spells, and he was still so fierce even when his speed was reduced. Without the warlock's directional reduction, it would be difficult to deal with him once the control effect ended. Well, he can't run fast. I'll hold him back. You guys kite him. As he said this, Qingming wiped the sweat off his forehead and rushed to Wang Yu with his greatsword. The weapon warrior class had high damage, high defense, and high priority. It was a very powerful class. Even so, as a weapon warrior, Qingming felt a little guilty facing a Grandmaster of Combat head-on. Moreover, this Grandmaster Combat was slowed down. Wang Yu was struggling to move like a snail. When he saw Qing Ming coming, he greeted him. "You come. Hit me again. F***CK. Qing Ming blushed. Without saying anything, he swung his greatsword with both hands and activated Whirlwind Slash. The two ranged classes in the distance saw Qing Ming make the first move and started to gather magic, knocking their arrows. Facing Qing Ming's violent Whirlwind Slash, Wang Yu smiled and calmly switched his weapon to a staff. He then jumped up and stabbed it into Qing Ming's body. His whole body was thrown away. Wang Yu, who was flying, activated Collapsing Fist and rushed to the top of He Tuesday. Then he stomped on He Tu's head and killed him. Seeing this, Huang He ran away. Wang Yu's figure flashed and appeared behind him. With a swing of his staff, the fragile Huang He turned into light and disappeared. Chapter 374. F***CK. Qing Ming saw that two of his teammates had been killed and immediately collapsed. Why did he help this guy kill his own teammates again? It was understandable that he had sent someone flying with charge, but since when did his Whirlwind Slash have a knockback effect? At this time, Wang Yu's speed reduction effect finally disappeared, and he appeared in front of Qing Ming in a few leaps. He pointed his staff at Qing Ming and asked, "Are you still fighting?" Wang Yu could have killed Qing Ming at this time, but he did not do so because Wang Yu knew that pro players would definitely have strong willpower. If he defeated them inexplicably, they would definitely come looking for the reason for their defeat. This way, Blueberry Team's challenge list would not be cleared, and his efforts would be in vain. Therefore, when dealing with these people, defeating them was not the goal, but making them afraid was the ultimate goal. After a few rounds of fighting, Qing Ming was really a little afraid. Leaving aside the fact that the five of them were inexplicably wiped out at noon, Qing Ming's team of four was still beaten to a pulp even after they had the initiative to control Wang Yu. Especially when Wang Yu had killed the other three with Qing Ming's help twice in a row. Such an incredible scene left Qing Ming still unable to understand what was going on. Human fear mainly came from the unknown. Facing such a strange opponent, even Qing Ming himself would not believe that he was not afraid. "You win." Qing Ming shook his head helplessly, opened his status bar, and left the battle map. No way, the husband and wife team also lost. Seeing Blueberry Team defeat Blood Flag Vanguard and husband and wife team consecutively, the other teams in the challenge list could not sit still. There was only one thought in everyone's mind. Weren't those trash very weak just a moment ago? How did they suddenly become so strong? Is it because there is one more expert in the team? Some people's thoughts were closer to reality, but they were quickly criticized. TCH, you don't know who the husband and wife team is, but don't you know Blood Flag Vanguard? No matter how strong an expert is, with that group of trash, even 10 more experts would not be able to carry them. That's strange. All the teams fell into a state of confusion. At the same time, the battle report of the husband and wife team had reached Hidden Dragon's hands. Those bastards actually won. No wonder Blood Red War Flag couldn't hold on for much longer. Hidden Dragon was surprised to see Qing Ming's results. Xiaoyao said, "I told you that Blood Red War Flag wouldn't lose so easily. Where's the video? Send me a copy." "I've sent it," Hidden Dragon said as he opened the battle video. The video was very simple. In order to reduce the memory load, Qing Ming recorded the competition video. It was all fighting scenes and there were no other superfluous scenes. After this battle, all the fighting scenes added up to less than 2 minutes. After watching the video that lasted less than 2 minutes, Hidden Dragon and Xiaoyao's expressions could only be described with one word: shock. When Wang Yu blocked the sneak attack of Peasant, Hidden Dragon broke out in cold sweat. Hidden Dragon was an assassin, so he knew better than anyone else the advantages of an assassin. He also knew the importance of stealth for an assassin. On the other hand, Wang Yu was able to block the sneak attack of the assassin and disarm him at the same time. This kind of scene was simply unheard of. How fast did this guy's attack and reaction speed have to be able to do this? The second scene was Wang Yu fighting against Noon and the other four. Noon was a cleric and didn't have an advantage in a one-on-one fight. However, Wang Yu's amazing performance of leaping onto roofs and vaulting over walls made Xiao Yao and Imperial Dragon's eyes light up. Next was Wang Yu's encirclement against the other 4 players. To an expert of Xiao Yao's level, dodging arrows and dodging spells was nothing. However, Wang Yu had easily blocked the attacks of 2 powerful melee classes. Even Xiao Yao could not help but sigh at his inferiority, let alone a grandmaster of combat. Even if Xiao Yao's main body was a warrior, the only thing he could do when faced with a shield warrior's charge would be to dodge. When Xiao Yao saw Wang Yu defeat the group of 5, he was flabbergasted and said, one hit, and 4 hits, 1 hit, 1 hit, and 4 hits tank. How strong is this guy's attack? The last scene was Wang Yu fighting against Qing Ming and the other 3. In a situation where he was slowed down, he used the warrior's charge to instantly kill the warlock, and then used the warrior's whirlwind slash to instantly kill the mage and archer. These 2 strange scenes caused the 2 great experts to be confused. How did he do it? Hidden Dragon racked his brains, but he couldn't think of an explanation. Xiao Yao said, slow down the video, look at his feet and weapon. After Hidden Dragon played the video in slow motion, he realized that Wang Yu had been sent flying twice. The shock on his face became even more intense. This guy really is a talent. Hidden Dragon was a person with a strong personality. He rarely admitted someone's strength, but after the assassin watched the video, he couldn't help but be convinced. Yes. Xiao Yao nodded in agreement. Precise control, super strong attack, super fast reaction. What a scary guy. Are you scared? A little scared, but also a little excited. If this kind of expert makes it into this season, he will definitely be a strong opponent. Xiao Yao said, that's for sure. But what's the other 8 points? Hidden Dragon asked curiously. It's a pity. This kind of expert is mixed with a bunch of trash. Don't you think it's a bit like casting pearls before swine? Xiao Yao sighed. In this match, the others were just bystanders. But looking at the previous matches, it was easy to guess that they were weak. They were just a random team for fun. So in this match, it was Wang Yu who completed the feat of 1 versus 10. This kind of super expert should be on the battlefield, but now he was in a team with a stupid name. Wasn't that too much of a waste? And then why don't we go and poach him? I believe that the boss will support this decision. Hidden Dragon said. Xiao Yao said with a bit of difficulty, if I remember correctly, this guy is from Chuanjin. What about Chuanjin? That group of people isn't easy to deal with. How could they let such an expert go so easily? Xiao Yao said, you don't have to worry about that. Hidden Dragon laughed. As long as the price is right, there is nothing we can't poach. Moreover, the Blueberry team isn't from Chuanjin. If he can join another team, it means that Chuanjin doesn't have a team yet. They probably don't need to do much to deal with normal players. Xiao Yao heard this and said happily, that makes sense. Then let's move quickly. Otherwise, the other guilds will beat us to it, especially Blood Alliance. Chapter 375. As the 2 leaders of world domination watched Wang Yu's video over and over again, discussing how to deal with this matter, in the arena, Wang Yu had already cleared all the teams on Blueberry Battle Team's challenge list. Without exception, those who had experienced Wang Yu's strength would definitely not have the heart to fight a second round. Therefore, there was no one who was stupid enough to stay and not leave. Competition was a time-consuming thing. Even an expert like Wang Yu had used up a lot of time after nearly 20 matches. When he came out of the arena, it was already past 4 in the afternoon. This made Wang Yu sigh again. Gaming was like Jianghu, and one could not do as they wished. In Wang Yu's friend list, Mu Zixian had already gone offline. Before she went offline, she left a message for Wang Yu. Hubby, remember to eat when you're done. I'm going to work. Sigh. Wang Yu shook his head. Originally, Wang Yu wanted Mu Zixian to resign and rest at home. However, after submitting her resignation letter, she still had to work until the end of the month. Otherwise, she would not receive this month's salary. According to Wang Yu, it was fine if she did not receive a month's salary. However, Mu Zixian was used to being thrifty. She felt that she could not work a month for nothing. She had to work until the end. This was a headache for Wang Yu. However, in the face of Mu Zixian's determination, Even someone as strong as Wang Yu could only compromise. After going offline, Wang Yu saw Mu Zixin's note on the desk. The food is in the thermos. The money is in the second drawer. The key is in the box at the door. Don't stay at home. Go out for a walk. Wang Yu laughed and put the note away. Indeed, being a professional gamer meant staying at home for too long. In addition to Wang Yu's autistic personality, it was hard for him to go out more than a few times a week. If this continued, normal people would be bored to death. After eating, Wang Yu put on some clothes and went out to get some fresh air. The spring festival was over, but the atmosphere was still strong. Even though the weather was cold and dry, and the sky was gloomy, the children in the neighborhood were still having fun outside. This reminded Wang Yu of his childhood. Although it was boring to practice martial arts, there were still fireworks and firecrackers to play with during the New Year. Now, there were barely any firecrackers during the New Year. Wang Yu walked out of the neighborhood. After a few steps, Wang Yu saw a very familiar figure. The man was quite fat, and he was standing under the bus stop sign, looking around as if he was lost. When that person turned his head around, Wang Yu's heart skipped a beat when he saw the look on his face. Damn, why did that brat come here? Could it be that they know I'm here? Thinking of that, Wang Yu turned around and walked away. Moreover, he walked while leaning against the wall, as if he was afraid of being seen by that person. However, when Wang Yu saw that person also noticed Wang Yu and chased after him. That guy was quite fat, but he was not slow. He caught up with Wang Yu in a few steps. Hey, sorry to ask, how do I get a Moonlight Bay area? The neighborhood Wang Yu lived in was very big. There were 4 areas A, B, and C. If he was not careful, he would get lost. I don't know. Wang Yu did not turn his head and said in a low voice. That person heard Wang Yu's voice and was puzzled for a moment before asking. Then do you know someone here called Wang Yu? Wang Yu said hurriedly, I don't know him. Oh, that fat guy scratched his head and stood there, not continuing to pester Wang Yu. Just when Wang Yu thought he had gotten rid of him, that fat guy suddenly shouted, Dad, I caught my brother. F***, this little bastard. Wang Yu was so scared that his whole body trembled and he broke into a run. He had only run a few steps when he heard that fat guy's lewd laughter. Ha ha, still pretending. I knew it was you. You dare to fool me? Wang Yu knew that she had been fooled when she heard that. She immediately stopped and turned around, then looked around. After confirming that there was no one around, she walked back to the fatty and kicked him in the butt. Haha, aren't you the same? You saw your own brother on the street, and you didn't even let him go home. The fat guy was Wang Yu's brother, Wang Fei. This guy was slightly shorter than Wang Yu, but he was a few times wider than Wang Yu. Although his face was round and different from Wang Yu's square face, his facial features were very similar. How did you know it was me? Wang Yu asked gloomily. Nonsense, if you can recognize me. Why can't I recognize you? I knew it was you just from your voice, Wang Fei said disdainfully. No way. I purposely lower my voice. Wang Fei said proudly. Didn't I trick you out in the end? Wang Yu's face darkened. You know I'm very interested in beating you up. Wang Fei said with a sad face. Is that right? I came all the way here to give you a New Year greeting, and you actually want to beat me up? Hearing Wang Fei's words, Wang Yu's face immediately turned ugly. So, my family knows I'm here. Hubby, what are you doing here? At this moment, a voice that Wang Yu didn't want to hear the most suddenly rang out behind him. Wang Fei heard the voice and looked up. He smiled and said, Oh, so this is sister-in-law. She's really pretty. This is? Mu Zixin saw Wang Fei's appearance and was also shocked. She walked to Wang Yu's side and pulled on Wang Yu's sleeve. My brother, Wang Yu said in a low voice. Hearing Wang Yu's words, Mu Zixin subconsciously stood in front of Wang Yu. Do you want to take him away? This. Wang Fei scratched his head. I really haven't thought about it. It wasn't that Wang Fei hadn't thought about it, but he was powerless. When Wang Yu wanted to leave, so many people couldn't stop him. Now that he didn't want to leave, Wang Fei alone was even more powerless. Wang Yu patted Mu Zixin's back and said, Don't be afraid, he's barely reliable. Wang Fei said angrily, Boss, if you say that, I'm not happy. What do you mean barely? All right, you're reliable, all right? Wang Yu corrected helplessly. Then, he touched his shoulder and said to Mu Zixian, when I was locked up, he was the one who let me out. Is that so? Hearing Wang Yu's words, Mu Zixian's expression softened a lot. However, she still had some doubts and said, what if he changes his mind? Wang Fei said, what are you thinking? When boss isn't home, I'm the head of the family. I'm the one who doesn't want him to go back the most, you know? So you're here to silence him? Mu Zixian asked again. This kind of thing was often seen on TV. Brother, just kill me. Wang Fei was already completely speechless. Wang Yu also didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said, your sister-in-law always likes to watch boring TV shows. You'll get used to it. After confirming that Wang Fei really wasn't here to take Wang Yu away, Mu Zixian blushed and said, I was just joking. It's so cold outside, you two brothers could talk about it at home. I'll go buy some groceries first. After saying that, Mu Zixian turned around and walked towards a market on the opposite side of the road. Looking at Mu Zixian's back, Wang Fei said enviously, I finally know why you don't want to go back. Chapter 376. Wang Fei knew what kind of education Wang Yu had received when he was young. As the person the Wang family had high hopes for, Wang Yu's every word and action had to be strictly controlled, just like a training machine. Even livestock wouldn't be able to live such a life, let alone humans. Now that there was someone who was so nice to Wang Yu, it would be strange if she didn't run away with him. Therefore, whether a person was rebellious or not was closely related to their family education. Brother, you and your wife only live in such a small place. Wang Fei sat down on the sofa when they arrived at Wang Yu's place and said with some emotion, what do you know? This is already the best location. Do you know how much effort your sister-in-law put in to buy this house? Whether the house is comfortable or not has nothing to do with the size. Do you understand? Wang Yu lectured with a straight face. You're right. Wang Fei nodded repeatedly. The Wang family was big enough. If Wang Yu lived comfortably, he wouldn't have run away. Looking at him now, it seemed that he was living more comfortably than at home. Tell me, what are you here for this time? Wang Yu asked. Wang Fei used to not get up early to pay New Year's greetings at home. Now that he said he was here to pay New Year's greetings, Wang Yu naturally didn't believe him. Wang Fei took something out of his pocket and gave it to Wang Yu. He said, Old Master asked me to give you something. Wang Yu took it and looked at it. It was the jade token that represented his identity. Seeing this jade token, a layer of cold sweat suddenly appeared on Wang Yu's back. This jade token was clearly given to a little ruffian. How did it end up in the hands of the Wang family? Could it be that his every move was under surveillance? Seeing Wang Yu's expression, Wang Fei chuckled. Look at how scared you are. Don't worry. Only Old Master and I know about this. Oh, what did he say? He told you to go back after you've had enough fun. It's not a big deal. You made a big deal out of it. You've lost the face of the Wang family, Wang Fei said. That's all. Wang Yu squinted. Wang Fei said, he also said that if you dare throw the jade token away again, he'll come and skin you alive. No. Hearing Wang Fei's words, the shadow in Wang Yu's heart immediately disappeared. By returning the patriarch's jade token and bringing such a message, it was obvious that the old master was using Wang Fei's mouth to tell Wang Yu that this matter was over and that Wang Yu was still the successor of the Wang family. He could return whenever he wanted. Thinking about it, blood was thicker than water, and no matter how important the Wang clan's face was, it was even more important than a heaven-defying genius. Half a year had passed, and other than those involved, probably no one would remember such a trivial matter. Thinking of this, Wang Yu was overjoyed. What about Wang Lao-san? Old Master said of Wang Yu Wang Old Yu Ling Yu of Old Yu said. Old Master of you a Wang Yu. Old Yu is. Wang of you of is. You're just spoiled. Actually, scolding him is quite fun, Wang Fei said with a smile. Really, try it. Wang Lao-san is a big asterisk. Fun. Just as the two rebellious and unfilial sons were having fun, Mu Zixian came back. Seeing the two chatting happily, she was surprised and asked, What are you talking about? Nothing. Just some childhood memories, Wang Yu quickly said. No matter how Wang Lao-san treated him, he was still his father. It would be very embarrassing if his wife found out that he was scolding his own father. Haha, then you guys talk first. I'll go cook for you. Mu Zixian smiled and carried the dishes into the kitchen. Perhaps it was to show off her culinary skills, but Mu Zixian specially cooked a table full of dishes, which made the two brothers very excited. Wang Yu was a real foodie, and he would eat whatever he could. As a blood brother, Wang Fei was above him, and this could be seen from his physique. If I were you, I wouldn't go back either. Wang Fei mumbled as he ate. Do you think it's easy for me? Isn't staying at home just for that little bit of food? I didn't expect sister-in-law to have such good culinary skills. Women always like to listen to flattery. Even if Mu Zixian still had some enmity towards Wang Fei, after hearing Wang Fei's praise, that little bit of resistance immediately vanished. Eat more if it's delicious. Wang Fei's character was the complete opposite of Wang Yu's. This guy was famous for saying whatever he wanted to say, especially when he said that he was also a professional gamer in the game and had a gaming studio. Mu Zixian was also quite surprised. To move unhindered is the famous guild? Mu Zixian asked in surprise. Zongheng Gaming Studio alone had tens of thousands of employees. It could be said to be the biggest organization in reincarnation. To move unhindered was the most profitable industry in the game, and it was firmly controlled by them. Who would have thought that their boss was like this? That's right, that's right. If anyone dares to bully sister-in-law, just tell me. I can just wave my hand, and tens of thousands of people will gang up on him. Wang Fei was obviously drunk and started to talk nonsense. Wang Yu at the side said disdainfully, "Tisk, with me around, who can bully her?" After eating and drinking, Mu Zixian went to the kitchen to wash up. Wang Fei's but did not even leave the floor and directly lay on the sofa, watching TV like a master. Wang Yu pushed the guy and said, "Where are you staying? Look at the time. Why aren't you going back? I'm your blood brother, and you're asking me to stay in a hotel?" Wang Fei curled his lips and asked, "My place is small. Don't you still have 2 bedrooms? I don't mind the conditions." As Wang Fei spoke, the 2-bedroom doors opened at the same time. 4 girls stretched their bodies and walked out of the bedroom. When she saw the drunk Wang Yu and Wang Fei, the outgoing Molly said, "So it's guests. No wonder I didn't see the landlord online. This what's going on?" Wang Fei was dumbfounded. Why are there 4 more sisters-in-law? Before Wang Fei could finish his words, he was blocked by Wang Yu. "Stop talking nonsense. Let's go. I'll find a place for you to stay." As he spoke, Wang Yu lifted Wang Fei up from the sofa with one hand. "You're ruthless." Wang Fei glared at Wang Yu fiercely and followed Wang Yu out of the house. Wang Yu brought Wang Fei to the opposite side and knocked on the door a few times. Yang Na opened the door and came out. When she saw Wang Yu and his brother, she asked, "What's the matter in the middle of the night?" "My brother wants to stay at your place for the night." "Find a room for him," Wang Yu said bluntly. "Oh, it's you. Come in." Yang Na looked at Wang Fei and let him in. When they arrived at Yang Na's house, the lights were bright. Wang Fei saw Yang Na's appearance clearly and immediately said in horror, "You are? Oh my God, I'm King convinced." Chapter 377. After settling Wang Fei down, Wang Yu returned home. After washing up, he returned to his bedroom. Mu Zixian was leaning against the pillow and reading a book. Wang Yu smiled and said, "Hee wife, let me tell you some good news." "What good news?" Mu Zixian asked with interest. "I can go home," Wang Yu happily said to Mu Zixian. "Go home?" Mu Zixian asked doubtfully. "Isn't this your home? I'm talking about the Wang family." Wang Yu said. Although Wang Yu had a comfortable life with Mu Zixian for the past half a year, and the two were very loving, there was a knot in Wang Yu's heart. Wang Yu's views were very traditional. In his mind, marriages that were not blessed by their parents would always end in tragedy. It didn't matter if they went home or not. Wang Yu's biggest wish was for Mu Zixian to become the daughter-in-law of the Wang family. Today, Wang Fei's words were undoubtedly the best news in the past half a year. However, Mu Zixian didn't think that way. After hearing Wang Yu's words, Mu Zixian's heart sank to the bottom. Mu Zixian had put in too much effort for this family over the past half a year, but her man's attitude towards this small family had really disappointed her. Could it be that you still don't treat this place as your home? Mu Zixian asked with a dark face. Wang Yu could also see that Mu Zixian was in a bad mood and hurriedly explained, "No, it's not what you understand. If you want to go back, then go back. As long as you're happy." Mu Zixian was a very stubborn woman. She covered her face with the book, not wanting Wang Yu to see her sad appearance. "Yes, you have to go back with me," Wang Yu said. "Why would I go to your home?" Mu Zixian's attitude was cold. Wang Yu said, "In the future, it's also your home. I have to take you to see my parents and let them recognize you as the daughter-in-law of the Wang family." "See my parents?" Hearing Wang Yu's words, Mu Zixian immediately understood Wang Yu's thoughts. Seeing that Wang Yu was so thoughtful, Mu Zixian was very happy. However, she shook her head and said, "I don't want it. I think it's good enough now. We're happy together. Status doesn't matter to me." Mu Zixian had also watched a lot of television dramas and knew that big families had a lot of things to do, especially for people like her, who had a criminal record of eloping with Wang Yu. She would definitely be seen as a person who had shamelessly climbed into a rich family. Mu Zixian's temper was rather arrogant. Their current life was not considered rich, but the two of them were still young, and their career prospects were not bad. There was no need for them to go back and look at others' faces. "Are you afraid?" Wang Yu smiled and asked. "You?" Mu Zixian nodded. Even if one's own nest was better than a nest of gold or silver, that kind of social family environment was already outdated. "Let's go home and see our parents. We won't be staying for long." Wang Yu smiled. "Really?" Mu Zixian was overjoyed. She thought that Wang Yu was going to abandon everything here. Wang Yu smiled and said, "Of course. This is your blood and sweat. How can you just throw it away like that?" Mu Zixian corrected him. "It's our blood and sweat. It's all the same. Go to sleep. Let's try to have a child before we go back. This will be even better." Wang Yu pulled the blanket away, turned off the lights, and pressed Mu Zixian into bed. Mu Zixian pounded Wang Yu's chest and said angrily, "Go to hell. Who did you learn this from? How can you be so despicable?" Looking at Wang Yu sleeping soundly, Mu Zixian's mind was filled with thoughts. She didn't want to be a mistress and didn't care about it. But when she heard that Wang Yu was going to bring her home, Mu Zixian was a little flustered. In China, marriage wasn't a child's play. It was important to have a match in terms of social status. When you were in love, you would be stimulated by hormones and think that it didn't matter. But after marriage, you would realize that no matter how much you loved each other, there would be some things that would cause the status of the family to be different. In the end, there would be many accidents. Mu Zixian was deeply moved by this point. In half a year's time, she had personally witnessed how Wang Yu had turned from an arrogant warrior into a decadent youth. A man raised by a woman would feel inferior. A poor woman marrying into a rich family would not only feel inferior, but they would also lose their human rights. To change this situation, no one could help her. Only by becoming strong could she regain her confidence. Although Mu Zixian's in-game shop had a good income, it was nothing compared to a rich family like the Wang family. At least let people know that we don't need to be parasites to survive. Mu Zixian thought honestly. Sometimes, things like ideals are forced out by reality. The next morning, Wang Fei left after breakfast. After sending Wang Fei off, Wang Yu entered the game. The official launch of Rebirth was like a shockwave that completely destroyed the traditional online game market. Now, Rebirth had 300 main cities, and all of them were full. Even Titan City, a main city with a terrible environment that no one cared about, was no exception. Moreover, the number of people in the game was still increasing. After Wang Yu entered the game, he could be said to have squeezed his way to the grocery store. Mu Zixian didn't have time to play the game recently, so the other owner of the grocery store naturally had to pay more attention. In the grocery store, Li Shui and the other three girls were busy restocking the goods. Before the official launch, Wang Yu had stocked up a lot of goods, and they were very popular at the moment. Especially the exquisite arrows that Wang Yu had brought out from the hidden dungeon. Although they were expensive, there were still rich people who bought them all. Although business was booming, such a crowded environment gave Wang Yu an abnormal headache. Will there be an end to these days? Wang Yu asked Wuji with a bitter face. It will be over in a few days. How do you know? Once the level is high, the players will go to the map. This game's map is very big. Speaking of which, what are you doing in my store? Wang Yu asked Wuji in confusion. Wuji said mysteriously, investigating the market. Isn't that Dao Shue's job? He went to do something else. After saying that, Wuji laughed and walked to Li Shue's side, asking, how are the sales of intermediate potions recently? Li Shue shook her head. Not very good. They basically can't sell. Why? Weren't they doing well before? Wang Yu was very puzzled. After the official launch, the value of gold was reduced. Our price was also adjusted from the previous 50 silver to the current 50 gold. After that, no one bought it. Li Shue said, however, the price of Xiaobing's workshop is 5 gold. Relatively speaking, there is no increase. It is still the original price. Damn, it increased so much. It would be strange if anyone bought it. Why isn't it the same price as Xiaobing's workshop? Wang Yu asked in surprise. Chapter 378. Reeks. Wang Yu turned his head and asked Wuji, are the materials we received? That's right. Wuji nodded lightly. Damn, this studio is really shady. Originally, Wang Yu thought that Xiaobing Studio was just trying to monopolize the material market. After listening to Li Shue, he suddenly realized that the studio's ultimate goal was the pharmaceutical market. First, they would stock up the goods, and then take advantage of the game's official launch when the price of gold coins was greatly reduced to raise the price of materials. In this way, whether it was the price of potions or materials, it would all be in the hands of Xiaobing Studio. Finally, they would use the previously hoarded intermediate potions to suppress the market. Even if Li Shue was the only one who could make intermediate recovery potions, the price difference between materials and potions would still be led by the nose by the people from Xiaobing Studio. These guys were really sinister. It was a typical case of speculation. It was too shady. Wuji laughed. That's why I asked you to stock up on potions. Yes, my wife has a lot of potions in the warehouse. When she gets off work, let her take them out and sell them at the price of Xiaobing Studio. Wang Yu said happily. No need. Wuji smiled and waved his hand. We have something more ruthless. Don't forget, we also hoarded materials. Because of the early launch of the game, Xiaobing Studio's stock may not be more than ours. At this time, they raised the price of potion materials so high. It's completely suicidal. So, when the potions they hoarded are sold out, they will definitely use the materials as a threat to cooperate with Edelweiss. Wuji said confidently. Li Shue said, they have already looked for me, but I rejected them. Wuji said with a smile, it seems that their stock sales are good. Let's give them a little sweetness first, and then wait for them to go bankrupt. After that, Wuji said to Li Shue, later, contact Dao Shue. We also hoarded a lot of potion materials before. We are not inferior to Xiaobing Studio. After Xiaobing's potions were sold out, they could only rely on the materials because they did not have the production capacity. However, Chuanjin had invested a lot of money to stock up on materials before this, so their stock of materials was no less than Xiaobing's. Potion materials weren't rare items. Now that there were so many players, as time went on, more and more materials would appear, and their prices would be fixed. As for the price of potions, once the market stabilized, it would return to the seller's market. In the beginning, Wuji just wanted to use the materials that Xiaobing Studio had hoarded to make a fortune, but who knew that the system would operate ahead of time. This caused the two sides to be evenly matched, and Li Shue, the ultimate counterweight, was the most important. They were both hoarding. If the materials from Xiaobing's workshop could not be sold, they could only be kept in their hands. However, the materials from Chuanjin could be made into potions. Not to mention beginner potions, even beginner potion shops could sell them. Using the materials collected to make beginner potions would also result in a loss. In the end, the producer was the greatest existence. Wuji, you did a great job. Wang Yu praised sincerely. Wuji said calmly, I did a great job because the people from Xiaobing Studio were dirty enough. But this will offend a lot of people, right? Wuji rolled his eyes and said disdainfully, our Chuanjin is afraid of offending people. That's true. Wang Yu nodded. These people were really lawless when they did things. After strolling around the grocery store, Little One and the others went online one after another. You too. Is Nyoga going to do a group raid today? Little One asked Wang Yu to raid the dungeon as soon as he went online. After level 25, dungeons were the fastest way to level up, and they were also the main source of equipment. Little One and the others had tasted the sweetness of a hell mode dungeon, so they immediately thought about it. Wang Yu looked at his friend's list, and the people from Xuanjin had not arrived yet, so he replied, "Wait for a while. I still have something to do." "Oh, you must call me," Little One begged pitifully. "Of course, or else we won't be able to gather enough people." Little One was speechless. How could this guy be so direct? After closing the chat, Wang Yu stepped onto the teleportation formation and went to the forging room in the guild encampment. Then, he carefully placed the smelting stones that he had traded for the past few days on the workbench. Speaking of these smelting stones, Wang Yu's eyes were full of tears. For these things, he had been farming in the arena for 3 days straight. This kind of boring PK. Wang Yu was about to be King disgusted. After all, the difference in strength was too big, and he would vomit after playing LOL for too long. Wang Yu first took off martial arts scholar Sai, then opened the smelting interface of magic alchemy and threw the one-handed sword Hero Executor, into it. When the 2 equipment boxes showed smelting stones too, Wang Yu picked up the 2 smelting stones and put them in. With a cutscene of smelting, the one-handed sword fused into Wang Yu's glove. Wang Yu picked up the glove and looked at it, and was quite disappointed. The attributes didn't change, and the rank didn't change. The only thing that was added was the form of a one-handed sword. Wasn't this a King scam? The Universe Blade could be used as a one-handed sword in its short form, alright? What a waste of 2 precious smelting stones. When he thought of the smelting stones, Wang Yu's heart ached even more. Next up was martial arts scholar's protection. With the previous example, Wang Yu suddenly felt a little hesitant. The 2 smelting stones just now had such a trash attribute, and now there were 10 of them. For these 10 smelting stones, Wang Yu had not left the arena for 3 days. If they were to come up with another piece of trash, Wang Yu would really have to smash his head against the wall. At this stage, with Wang Yu's leveling efficiency, if he hadn't spent the past 3 days in the arena, he wouldn't have been overtaken by the people from the Quanjin sect. To smelt or not to smelt? Wang Yu looked at the smelting stones on the workbench, conflicted, and hesitated. If he smelted, he was afraid of getting another piece of trash. If he didn't smelt, wouldn't the past 3 days be a waste? CK smelt. In the end, Wang Yu clenched his teeth and threw the smelting stones into the control panel. If he smelted, it would be a smelting stone. If it didn't smelt, it would just be a pile of stones. In any case, putting it there would just take up space, so he might as well take a gamble. After throwing it in, Wang Yu was afraid that he would regret it, so he directly pressed confirm to smelt. After the animation, there was a flash of light and the 2 pieces of clothing combined into one. This equipment was quite flashy. The style was very oriental, and the color was mainly black and white. It was very simple and elegant. Moreover, the 2 colors complemented each other, forming a yin-yang fish. It was a combination of yin and yang, and it complemented the yin-yang fish emblem on Wang Yu's chest. It was very handsome. Not to mention anything else, just the appearance of this piece of clothing was enough for Wang Yu to give 10 points. If it was compared to the Sky's silkworm armor, it would at least be 20 points. The style is not bad. Wang Yu nodded his head in satisfaction and said to himself, I just don't know if the attributes will be as trash as the previous weapon. Chapter 379. Martial Scholar's Protection Physical Defense. 80-80 Magic Resistance. 80-80 Blast Wind. Passive skill, jump ability increased by 25, movement speed increased by 25, attack speed increased by 25, cooldown reduced by 25. Invasion like fire. Passive skill, jump attack increased by 25, attack power increased by 25, skill damage increased by 25. Cerulean. Passive skill, HP and MP automatically regenerate by 2.5 per second. Immovable mountain. Passive skill, physical defense, and magic resistance increased by 25. When a user's HP falls below 30, a powerful chi shield will automatically form, blocking all damage for 2.5 seconds. Class requirement. Martial Scholar level requirement. 20 item description. One of the Martial Scholar's exclusive equipment sets. Lost in the continent, it has been covered in dust for a long time. Current repair level. 30. TSK. The past 3 days were not wasted. After seeing the equipment's attributes, Wang Yu finally let out a sigh of relief. Although it didn't have an advantage over equipment of the same stage and stage, it was still a piece of cloth armor with very low defense. The fact that it had such a high defense was already impressive. Not to mention, Immovable Mountain's attributes also increased by 25%. Overall, the attributes weren't any worse than a piece of dark gold plate armor of the same level. After smelting, all the special attribute bonuses increased by 5. It was not much, but it was better than nothing. Sometimes, this little bit of attribute could completely turn the tide of a battle for an expert. What made Wang Yu the happiest was that the silkworm armor's most useful invincibility skill had been preserved. This was a godly skill that had allowed Wang Yu to escape from death many times. 10 smelting stones. It really is worth it. It seems to have nothing to do with smelting stones. Wang Yu suddenly thought of something and opened the operation log. I got it. Wang Yu finally understood what was going on after reading the operation log. The reason why the 2 weapons didn't have any additional attributes after being smelted was because the executor of the swordsman didn't have any attributes at all. Logically speaking, equipment without attributes could only be recast and not smelted. However, the martial scholar's persistence had an engulf attribute, so it could be smelted. Thinking of this, Wang Yu took out the flying dragon cable that he found in the dungeon and threw it into the smelting frame together with the fire dragon magic gun. The flying dragon cable was an offhand weapon, and different types of equipment could not be smelted. As expected, after throwing the 2 equipment in, the smelting frame showed. This weapon cannot be smelted. Note, so that's how it is. If it wasn't for the devour attribute from the martial artist's persistence, even if they could snatch the equipment from the boss, they wouldn't be able to smelt it. The materials needed to recast, it would be the most frustrating. However, from another perspective, due to the devour effect, Wang Yu's gloves could be smelted as long as they were his main weapons. In that case, he could also smelt any weapons that he wanted to forge into the shape of a glove. Thinking of this, Wang Yu touched a roll of sheepskin drawings in his bag. This is really a good thing. Wang Yu had been drooling over the flying dragon cable for a long time. Wang Yu was actually quite disappointed that he couldn't smelt it, so he threw the flying dragon cable into the recast interface to see what materials he needed. Vines of the Sacred Tree 5 Winter, Iron 5, Jinsha 5, it seemed that the flying dragon cable wasn't some high-end equipment. The materials needed to craft it were worlds apart from other equipment. Thinking about it, it made sense. After all, it was an offhand weapon, and there was nothing too high-end about it. Even so, these 3 materials were also rare materials. Frost iron and gold and silver sand could be sold in the consignment store, but the vine of the divine tree could only be obtained in the arena. Forget it. I'll leave it for now. Wang Yu shook his head and put the items into his bag. At this time, everyone from Xuanjin had arrived. Wang Yu walked out of the forging room and teleported to Yu Huicheng. There were only a few pieces of equipment in hell. After the first kill, all the items dropped by a level. After this run, everyone was quite familiar with the dungeon. This time, there were no casualties, but the rewards were very low. Apart from the blood great wall rolling for a blood set equipment recipe, there was nothing else good. Of course, the quality of the items was also relative. The items from hell were much stronger than normal dungeons. Apart from the Quanjin sect, only the Blood Alliance could clear this dungeon. In the near future, the Sunset God Temple would still have some value. After clearing the dungeon, Wang Yu suddenly received a system notification. Dragon Riding Slash has requested to add you as a friend. Ever since Wang Yu was harassed by new players, he turned on the friend request filter. Under the filter mode, only players with a difference of 3 levels could add Wang Yu as a friend. It seemed that this dragon riding slash was at least a level 25 expert. As a professional player, Wang Yu's main job was to sell equipment. Therefore, when he saw a high-level player add him, he accepted the request without hesitation. "Hello, do you need anything?" After adding him as a friend, Wang Yu sent a passionate message. It was like a girl in the red light district asking, "Handsome, do you want to play?" Iron Ox? Dragon riding slash asked curiously. In Dragon riding slash's impression, super experts should be very cold. He didn't expect Wang Yu to be so passionate. "It's me." Wang Yu was speechless. They couldn't use the same ID in the game, so what was there to be confused about? "I came to Chiyun City to discuss something with you." Dragon riding slash replied, his tone filled with an unquestionable tone. He originally thought that Wang Yu was really a rare expert, but after seeing Wang Yu's passionate attitude, he immediately changed his mind. Wang Yu was stunned for a moment before replying, "Gold has already been taken off the shelves. Just tell me what class equipment you want to buy, and I'll send you a picture. After the deal is done, I'll mail it to you. There's no need for us to meet." The reason why Gokura Kajodo was so miserable was because that idiot Southern Hell Buddha wanted to trade face-to-face with others. Wang Yu wasn't afraid of that, but he was afraid of trouble. Chiyun City was tens of thousands of miles away, and a few cards weren't money. "Our boss wants to see you," Dragon riding slash said again. Hearing Dragon riding slash's words, Wang Yu immediately became unhappy. "Who the hell knows who your boss is? Mother of asterisk her. If you want to find me, can't you contact me yourself? Why did you ask your subordinates to contact me? Who are you trying to act cool with? If you want to buy equipment, I'll just make a trip. If you don't want to buy equipment, I won't care about you." "Oh," Wang Yu replied with an "oh," and closed the chat window. "Mother of asterisk her. If you want to wait, then wait." "What are you daydreaming about?" Mingdu asked Wang Yu curiously. "There's a guy called Dragon riding slash who added me as a friend to act cool. He said that his boss wants to see me." Wang Yu said, "Dragon riding slash is the one who rules the world." The people in Qiwanjin were all experienced players, so they were naturally familiar with the name Dragon riding slash. "Oh, you guys know each other?" Wang Yu asked in confusion. Wuji waved his hand and said, "A bunch of idiots, ignore them." Chapter 380. In Chi Cloud City, within the guild encampment of world domination, Dragon Slash was respectfully talking to a middle-aged man wearing a beginner's uniform. This middle-aged man was one of the main people in charge of world domination. His in-game name was World Domination, a rather arrogant name. In reality, Wang Yu had misunderstood world domination. Wang Yu's friend filter prevented players below level 25 from adding him as a friend. World Domination's name was very arrogant, but his level was pitiful. How could he add Wang Yu as a friend, let alone personally contact Wang Yu? "How is it? Did you manage to contact him?" World Domination calmly asked Dragon Slash. Although this guy's level was low, his aura was quite strong. He gave off a feeling that he was even more of an expert than Dragon Slash. Dragon Slash curled his lips and said, "I managed to contact him. I don't think he's as amazing as the guild leader made him out to be. He's pretty average. He was a fighter, not a professional player. How strong could such a useless class be? Moreover, experts had strange tempers. Wang Yu's aura was very down-to-earth. He clearly didn't seem like an expert. "Oh," World Domination nodded and said, "When is he coming?" "I have a meeting in the afternoon. Yu Huichang will take half an hour to get here by airship. Please wait for a bit. He'll be here soon." Dragon Slash didn't hear the rejection in Wang Yu's "oh." No matter what was said or done, World Domination was still one of the top major guilds in the country. Moreover, it was the kind with a relatively solid foundation. Hence, as one of World Domination's internal experts, Imperial Dragon Slash felt an indescribable sense of superiority. He thought that players like Wang Yu would be like ordinary players, rushing to join World Domination the moment they heard its name. Especially when he was talking to Wang Yu, Dragon Slash unintentionally found out that Wang Yu was a professional player. As a result, he was even more confident in his judgment. Professional players only cared about money. To be able to show off in a professional team was definitely a dream come true. Dragon Slash didn't believe that Wang Yu would reject such a good opportunity. However, after an hour, Dragon Riding Slash still did not receive any news from Wang Yu. Quan Ji Tian had long since grown impatient from waiting. Seeing that Wang Yu still hadn't arrived, he gloomily asked Imperial Dragon Slash, "Ajan, is this what you meant by contact? I remember that you're pretty reliable." "Boss, don't worry. Let me ask again. He might be lost." As he spoke, Dragon Controlling Slash immediately opened his friends list and found Wang Yu. He then sent a message, "Why aren't you here yet?" Dragon Riding Slash's tone was filled with reproach. After a long time, Wang Yu replied, "What? Did I say I was going?" "Ah." Dragon Riding Slash was instantly petrified. "What? Where did he go?" Quan Yu Tian urged. He said he's not coming." Imperial Dragon Slash didn't dare to say that he didn't do his job well. Instead, he threw the blame onto Wang Yu. Quan Yu Tian's expression instantly became incomparably ugly. "I've been sitting here awkwardly with you for a long time, and you're telling me he's not coming?" Dragon Riding Slash and Quan Yu Tian had a true superior and subordinate relationship. Sitting in the same room as their leader for an hour was indeed quite awkward. Dragon Riding Slash frantically explained, "You can't blame me. He originally said he would come, but who knew that he would change his mind midway? This brat doesn't keep his word. It seems like he's not a decent person." Quan Yu Tian thought for a while and rubbed his chin. "I think he wants us to go over and talk to him. It seems like he's quite greedy." The concept of the workplace was the same regardless of whether it was in reality or in the game. The difference between taking the initiative to invite someone over and having someone apply for a job wasn't something that could be explained with just a few words. Prime Minister Zhuge was a living example. Dragon Riding Slash agreed. Yes. He's a professional player. He even asked me if I wanted to buy some equipment. I've never seen such a snobbish person before. Quan Yu Tian sneered. "It's not that he can't negotiate with me, but I don't know if he has the strength to do so. That guy's a grandmaster of combat, right? You, an old fist, should go test the waters and see if he's worthy of our invitation." "I'll be fine alone. Do we need Fist Bro to go with us?" Dragon Riding Slash questioned. Quan Yu Tian said, "You're a warrior. It wouldn't be honorable for you to win against him. Let old Fist go. He'll only be convinced by a fight between two people of the same class." "Oh, I understand. The people of Chuanjin weren't professional players. Therefore, other than gathering for dungeons, they would usually train alone. After clearing the dungeon, everyone would immediately disperse. Wu Ji said he was going to research meeting, Chun Xiang said he was going to draw up some blueprints, Bao San said he was going to do a pile experiment, and Ming Du said he was going to patrol the streets. In any case, everyone had their own reasons. Other than Baiming Yu, who was also a professional player, and Yin Lao Air, who didn't have a proper job, everyone returned to the city and went offline. The three of them had different classes, so the areas they usually trained in were very different. As usual, they did not play together today. The area Wang Yu was currently in was called Sunset Corridor. It was a level 40 training area. The monsters here were called Sunset Bandits. They looked similar to Erdis. Since they were humanoid monsters, they were more to Wang Yu's liking. Wang Yu would often train here after clearing dungeons. Sunset Bandits had a low drop rate for equipment and a low drop rate for gold coins. They were also very tough. Even professional treasure hunting groups that focused on killing monsters above their level didn't like this place. Therefore, the entire map was quite quiet with only Wang Yu. When dealing with these monsters, Wang Yu would pull dozens of them into a group out of habit. Then, he would dodge left and right among the monsters and annihilate them in one fell swoop. This way, the efficiency of killing monsters was very high. Moreover, while killing monsters, he could also train his reflexes and martial arts. Although these live targets didn't have high intelligence, they were much more useful than wooden dummies. While Wang Yu was meticulously killing monsters, the two of them passed through the Setting Sun Mountains and entered the Setting Sun Corridor. One of them was Dragon Rider. "I say, Dragon Rider, what is the boss thinking? He sent me here to mess around with you." I still have training to do. The tall and sturdy guy said. Dragon Rider said, Fist bro, this guy was recommended by Boss Xiao Yao. He's very arrogant and doesn't even give face to the boss. Today he stood us up and pissed the boss off, so the boss sent you here to teach him a lesson. Dragon Rider said, Fist bro, this guy was recommended by Boss Xiao Yao. He's very arrogant and doesn't even give the boss face. Today he stood us up and pissed the boss off, so the boss sent you here to teach him a lesson. Really? That's a bit interesting. Then why did he send me here? Isn't Olding pretty free? The assassin class had a lot of advantages. Their training time was much shorter than the fighter class. Because that guy is also a fighter. The boss said that a fighter can beat a fighter, so he'll be convinced. Dragon Rider said, Oh, that's true. But speaking of which, are you reliable? This is a level 40 training area. Is he really here? Dragon Rider asked. Dragon Rider said, Don't worry, I spent 10 gold coins to open the Eye of the Sky at the Mage Academy. His coordinates are nearby. Chapter 381. Genius in 1 second. Remember Net, providing you with exciting novels to read. After clearing a wave of monsters, Wang Yu sat on the ground and rested. Nowadays, even if the players were farming monsters of the same level, they would still kill them one by one. After clearing an area, the first monster that was killed would respawn, and then they would go back and farm again. Wang Yu's method of killing monsters in one wave was too extreme. Normal people would not be able to keep up. Even an expert like Wang Yu would not be able to deal with it easily. Someone's here. At this time, Wang Yu suddenly felt that someone was staring at him. So he quickly turned around and saw 2 people standing not far away, pointing at him. Is it him? Imperial Dragon Fist asked. Imperial Dragon Slash said, It should be. There are very few people here. He looks like a fighter. Go and ask. As they spoke, the 2 people walked towards Wang Yu. Seeing the 2 people walking towards him, Wang Yu thought they were asking for directions, so he calmly stood up. Treating people humbly was the basic etiquette of a fighter. The 2 people walked in front of Wang Yu. Imperial Dragon Slash first asked, Are you Iron Ox? That's me. Wang Yu saw that the other person knew him. He was a bit surprised and immediately asked, What business do you have with me? What are you doing here? Imperial Dragon Slash asked in a bad mood. Imperial Dragon Slash was originally unhappy with Wang Yu for not showing up. Now that Wang Yu had come to such a remote area and made Imperial Dragon Slash look for him, Imperial Dragon Slash was very unhappy with Wang Yu. Leveling. Wang Yu's mental state was still very high. Facing Imperial Dragon Slash's rude questioning, he only glanced at Imperial Dragon Slash and suppressed the thought of twisting Imperial Dragon Slash's head off and kicking it like a ball. Leveling? Imperial Dragon Slash was startled. The Grandmaster Combat class had short arms, and their other attributes were mediocre as well. Most Grandmasters of Combat would usually pick some squishy monsters to fight. Along the way, Dragon Slash had gained a rough understanding of the attributes of the monsters in the Setting Sun Corridor. They were all warrior monsters with thick skin and flesh. Moreover, they were level 40. Even a warrior like himself had to sneak around them. Yet a pugilist said that he was leveling here. However, the Imperial Dragon Slash had taken a long time to travel from Yu Huiqing's all-seeing eye to Wang Yu's coordinates to this place. Wang Yu had been here all along, so it was clear that what he said was true. He really is an expert. Imperial Dragon Slash whispered to Imperial Dragon Divine Fist. Kiki. Imperial Dragon Divine Fist smiled and cupped his fist at Wang Yu. My name is Imperial Dragon Divine Fist. I rule the world. Oh, hello. Wang Yu nodded his head. Hearing the words, ruling the world, Wang Yu had an 80 to 90% understanding of why the Imperial Dragon Divine Fist duo suddenly came to find him. Imperial Dragon Divine Fist was very dissatisfied with Wang Yu's reaction. Imperial Dragon Divine Fist was the #1 pugilist in the world. Even if Imperial Dragon Divine Fist wasn't famous, he was still quite famous. Yet, this guy only responded with a soft, "Oh," when he heard this name. How arrogant. The main reason was that Qiyin City was too far away from Yuhuicheng. If it was closer, Imperial Dragon Divine Fist probably wouldn't think so. Imperial Dragon Divine Fist didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. I'm here to see your skills and see if you have the ability to negotiate with our ruling the world. How about it? Do you dare to have a match? Of course. Wang Yu was just about to agree when the monsters respawned. A setting sun bandit just so happened to respawn beside Imperial Dragon Divine Fist. Let's clear the monsters first, Wang Yu reminded. Imperial Dragon Divine Fist thought that Wang Yu was showing off his ability to kill monsters above his level. He snorted and swung his fist to attack the setting sun bandit beside him. Imperial Dragon Divine Fist's attack style was very interesting. It wasn't like other players, who would start with a skill and then use the skill's effect to follow up with a combo. Instead, he stood beside the setting sun bandit, raised his fist, and swung it. The setting sun bandit trembled along with Imperial Dragon Divine Fist's fists. Even when Imperial Dragon Divine Fist killed the setting sun bandit, the setting sun bandit didn't retaliate. Swinging Fist, Imperial Dragon Slash was secretly shocked. Swinging Fist was a theoretical technique in the pugilist class. In system mode, a pugilist attack consisted of straight punch, swinging fist, and uppercut. In gaming terms, it was a AAA combo. Straight punch didn't have much effect, swinging fist could stun the target for a short period of time, and uppercut could knock the target back. It sounded very powerful, but to players, this knockback effect was quite a headache. After all, pugilists had short arms, and it was difficult to complete a single cut. Knockback would affect the rhythm, but if they kept using skills, the pugilist's mana was not enough. Therefore, the statistics fans on the forums came up with this swinging fist technique, which relied on positioning to cancel the first and third straight punches, and then use the second straight punches to complete an infinite stun. However, this kind of technique only existed in theory. To actually complete this kind of operation, the level of skill required was simply unimaginable. Who would have thought that the Divine Fist of the Imperial Dragon could actually complete this kind of theoretical technique? No wonder he was the #1 Grandmaster of Combat in the world. Too strong. Fist Bro is really good. Imperial Dragon Slash shouted excitedly. How is it? Imperial Dragon Divine Fist looked at Wang Yu provocatively. Not bad. Wang Yu looked at Imperial Dragon Divine Fist with interest, but you can't be called a pugilist like this. If anyone in Xuanzhen was here, they would be able to recognize Imperial Dragon Divine Fist technique. In Wang Yu's eyes, this guy only had good positioning and rhythm control. As for the rest, shameless boasting. Imperial Dragon Divine Fist was furious and raised his fist to smash Wang Yu's body. Wang Yu tilted his body slightly to dodge and went straight for the nearby monsters. Wang Yu circled the area, and in a short while, he gathered all the Sunset Bandits around him. F***CK. He knew he couldn't win, so he killed himself? Imperial Dragon Slash was shocked. No, he didn't die. Imperial Dragon Divine Fist pointed at the group of monsters. Imperial Dragon Slash looked over and saw Wang Yu nimbly weave between the monsters and attack with ease. Every hit from Wang Yu caused the Sunset Bandit's body to tremble and his HP to drop. When the Sunset Bandit raised his sword to slash at Wang Yu had already turned around and dodged the monster's attack range and attacked another monster. This cycle repeated, and in less than 2 minutes, dozens of Sunset Bandit with 20,000 HP were turned into rays of white light with a flash of blue lightning. It was a dazzling scene. Imperial Dragon Slash and Imperial Dragon Divine Fist were both stunned. After clearing the monsters, Wang Yu returned to Imperial Dragon Divine Fist and said calmly, "Did you see it clearly? This is how a true pugilist should fight." Chapter 382. Indeed, Wang Yu is a true Grandmaster of Combat. In Wang Yu's eyes, one should make full use of one's strengths and avoid one's weaknesses when fighting with bare hands, using one's nimble body and combat techniques to attack the opponent. An attack like the Divine Dragon Fist was indeed very effective and required a lot of technical content. However, that was only used to deal with monsters and normal players in the game. Against a true expert, this was purely a suicidal way of fighting. Imperial Dragon Fist didn't say anything. He didn't understand what Wang Yu meant. He was shocked by Wang Yu's method of killing monsters. At this stage of the game, it was not impossible for current experts to solo monsters that were 15 levels higher than them. Peak experts, such as Divine Dragon Fist, sought to defeat monsters without taking any damage. Meanwhile, not only had Wang Yu defeated monsters without taking any damage, but she had also used such a method to single-handedly annihilate a wave of monsters. This was simply a fantasy. This guy really had a reason to be so arrogant. Wang Yu looked at the time and said to Imperial Dragon Fist, "It's getting late, I'm going back. Do you have anything else?" No. Imperial Dragon Fist shook his head. "Do you want to practice a bit more?" Imperial Dragon Fist was also a person who pursued technique. He wanted to see Wang Yu's playstyle one more time and then record it back to study in detail. Wang Yu said, "No, I've played for a whole day. It's time to go offline." "Go offline." Imperial Dragon Fist looked at the time. It was only 6. Didn't he say that he was a professional player? "Do you have any objections?" No. Boss Xiao Yao has a good eye. Other than War God and Mage God, there shouldn't be anyone stronger than this guy. Imperial Dragon Slash clicked his tongue. "No, this guy's even stronger." Imperial Dragon Fist said confidently. The legendary War God and Mage God were also in the professional circle. Imperial Dragon Fist had seen their various videos on the forums. Although they were very overpowered, it was nothing compared to the scene just now. Back at Qiyin City, Imperial Dragon Slash and Mage God reported this to Imperial Dragon Fist and emphasized that this guy was very arrogant. If Wang Yu heard this, he would be very sad. He didn't even say a word of arrogance, and he was actually labeled as arrogant. World Domination Quan was very excited. Being arrogant didn't affect World Domination Quan at all. He was an expert, so it was normal for him to be arrogant. World Domination Quan had seen this kind of thing many times. The key was that he had the ability. From a description of the Imperial Dragon Divine Fist, Wang Yu's strength was definitely at the top. No matter how awesome and arrogant this guy was, could he resist the temptation of RMB? It was nothing more than a slightly higher price tag. This was not a problem for ruling the world. Currently, the most difficult thing for Quan Yu to do was to arrange a meeting with Wang Yu. After being stood up by Wang Yu once, World Domination Quan had labeled Wang Yu as unapproachable. Even if this kind of person took the initiative to look for him, he would need a recommendation from someone familiar. Where could he find such a person? Just find Yu Huiqing's people. Imperial Dragon Slash took the initiative to help World Domination Quan. He's Yu Huiqing's man, so Yu Huiqing definitely knows someone. Is that so? Who do you think is the most suitable? World Domination Quan was overjoyed. Blood Red War Flag. World Domination Quan was furious. D*MN. Do you not want this month's bonus anymore? Blood Alliance and World Domination Quan were competitors. He had to sneakily pull such an expert over, but this kid actually wanted him to find Blood Red War Flag for help. Was he trying to be a traitor? Boss, don't be anxious. Think about it. We're in the same city. Do you think Blood Red War Flag doesn't know that this guy is an expert? That's true. I heard that this Iron Ox's rise to fame had something to do with Blood Alliance. That's right, but this person isn't from Blood Alliance. It seems that Blood Alliance didn't recruit him. So what? World Domination Quan frowned. It seems that this guy is a troublemaker, so Blood Red War Flag will definitely laugh at us. That's too far-fetched. What if he doesn't agree? When the time comes, we could just give him some benefits. Don't think that Blood Red War Flag is the boss of Blood Alliance. This guy is just a second-string member. He'll be moved by some benefits. Imperial Dragon Slash said. World Domination Quan couldn't help but nod. That's true. The competitive circle was far crueler than other circles. The difference in income between second-string members and first-string members was like the difference between heaven and earth. Even if Blood Red War Flag was the boss of a guild, he was still a small character in front of first-string members. These people were the easiest to buy. World Domination Quan firmly believed that there was nothing that couldn't be done with money. Just as Imperial Dragon Slash expected, when Blood Red War Flag saw that World Domination Quan was looking for them, they were initially quite resistant. However, When they heard that world domination Quan wanted them to introduce Wang Yu to them, they immediately agreed. They even boldly said, "Leave it to me. Iron Ox is my brother." Is that so? Then why didn't he join your blood alliance? Seeing Blood Red War Flag act so arrogantly, world domination Quan asked with disdain. This kind of thing requires both parties to be willing. He's my good friend, so I can't force him. Don't worry, I'll definitely let you meet him as long as you have the money. Blood Red War Flag said. Cash or in-game currency? In-game currency is fine. We don't have a good relationship, so we'll do it offline. Blood Red War Flag wasn't stupid. The next day, Wang Yu received a message from Wuji. Come to the tavern. The tavern was where the people of Qianjin gathered. Wang Yu didn't doubt Wuji's message at all, so he went straight to the tavern. When he arrived at the tavern, Wang Yu saw the people of Qianjin drinking with Blood Red War Flag. In the middle of them, there was a person wearing a beginner's outfit. Uncle Neo, sit here. To place one's pride, obediently gave up a seat for Wang Yu when he saw Wang Yu enter the tavern. Brothers, are you guys drinking? Wang Yu sat down and took a cup for himself as he asked. Blood Red War Flag suddenly stood up and shouted, Old cow, you're finally here. Let me introduce you. Before Blood Red War Flag could finish, the guy in the beginner's outfit stood up and interrupted Blood Red War Flag. My name is World Domination. I've heard of it for a long time. Today, I've finally met you. World Domination was indeed a professional. The moment he met someone, he flattered them so much that the people of Qianjin felt like vomiting. They shouted in the channel, F***CK, he's definitely not the Iron Ox that we've seen so often. Wang Yu said, handsome and elegant. These words are quite apt to describe him. At the same time, Wang Yu replied politely, I've heard of world domination before. Wang Yu didn't mention that he had only heard of them yesterday, and that he was called a bunch of idiots. Is that so? It's my honor. World Domination said. Wang Yu asked curiously, why are you looking for me? Chapter 383. Wang Yu looked around at Wuji and the others. They were all sitting upright and still, and the chat was already boiling. Fuck, this bastard is trying to poach people in front of us. Wuji, you can't take this lying down. Mingdu was the first to shout. Damn, this grandson is actually trying to poach people in front of us. Wuji, you can't take this lying down. Mingdo cried out. The others also began to denounce world domination in the guild chat. Even the usually quiet Bai Mingyu said, there's nothing good in the big guilds. The others also began to denounce world domination in the guild channel. Even the usually quiet Bai Mingyu said, there's nothing good in the big guilds. Yes. The others also began to denounce world domination in the guild chat. Yes. Everyone agreed again. Not interested. Wang Yu looked strangely at the Qianjin group and indifferently replied to world domination. World domination wasn't surprised by Wang Yu's reply. He smiled and said, don't be like that. Just name your conditions. Our team's treatment is very good. It's definitely better than being a pro player. Isn't that right, Brother War Flag? Saying this, World Domination shot a look at Blood Red War Flag, signaling for it to speak up for him. Blood Red War Flag had already accepted money, so they couldn't refuse to help. As a result, they vaguely said, yes, the pay is quite high. In the guild chat, fuck, he's actually using money to corrupt God Iron Ox's integrity. This guy is too shameless. Tell him that if his annual salary is less than 50 million, then he should give up on this idea. A first-rate god in the pro circle was worth more than 10 million. With Wang Yu's skill, it was completely reasonable for him to receive 50 million. Oh, unexpectedly, Wang Yu still shook his head. Not interested. I'll give you the treatment of a first-rate god. World Domination threw out his bargaining chip. Before Wang Yu could refuse, Wuji sneered. Those first-rate gods of yours are only worth tens of millions. With Brother Iron Ox's skill, he won't sign with you for less than 100 million. 100 million. World Domination trembled. Even Wang Yu was shocked by Wuji's figure. Even though Wang Yu came from a big family, his life had always been arranged for him, so he did not have much of a concept of money. It was only in the past 6 months that he realized the importance of money. Other than discussing projects that were worth more than 100 million with his wife, he did not even dare to think about it. Kuan Yu Tian felt a pain in his teeth as he thought to himself, "Damn it, he really is a prick. To actually ask for 100 million, is he really determined to find fault with me? No one would accept such a price. No wonder no one dared to ask for such a powerful fighter." However, with the description of the Divine Dragon Fist, this guy did have the capital to raise the price. However, world domination did not have the qualifications to set a price. He could only vaguely say, "It's not impossible, but I have to think about it." World, you said. "I have." Wang Yu said. Wang Yu was Wuji. "Is that so? Why didn't I know about 9 States Empire or Dragon ascending the heavens?" World domination asked. "Is that so? Why didn't I know about 9 States Empire or Dragon ascending the heavens?" World domination asked. When Hidden Dragon recommended Wang Yu to world domination, he didn't tell him that Wang Yu had a guild. The 2 guilds ruler of the world had mentioned were both well-known large guilds. With Wang Yu's qualifications, only these 2 guilds could compete with him right now. Qiuanjin. Wang Yu looked at Wuji and said, "Qiuanjin? What guild is that?" World domination was shocked. He had been in the competitive circle for so many years. Was there a guild that he hadn't heard of? A small guild with a dozen or so people. Wuji interrupted. A small guild with only a dozen or so people. Imperial ruler of the world felt relieved. This fellow was a merchant, and he had no interest in organizations other than large guilds. This was especially true for organizations like the Quanjin sect. In his eyes, the Quanjin sect was just a motley crew that wasn't even worth mentioning. With God Iron Bull's strength, that trashy guild will only be a burden to you. World domination continued to tempt him. Trash guild. The expressions on the faces of the Qiuanjin people twitched. The blood-red war flag looked at Kuan Yu Tian as if he was a dead man. "Did I say something wrong? A good bird chooses a good tree to nest in. It's normal to jump ship in the esports circle." Indeed, it was common for the top players in the esports circle to transfer. One cannot question the ethics of the players because of this. After all, everyone was fighting for the championship. "I'm used to it. I don't want to change guilds." Wang Yu said, "God Iron Ox, let me tell you." Kuan Yu Tian wanted to continue speaking, but before he could finish, Wang Yu suddenly reached out and grabbed him by the neck. With Wang Yu's attack power, he could instantly kill players of the same level. World domination, a level 10 newbie, was strangled to death on the spot. Everyone at the table was stunned. You killed him." Mingdu was shocked. "How annoying. Speaking of which, our agreement didn't say we couldn't kill him, right?" Wuji turned around and asked Blood Red War Flag. Blood Red War Flag's face was ashen. No. Who cares if there was or not? Suddenly killing someone was too annoying. They thought that Wang Yu was the friendliest person in Qiuanjin. They didn't expect him to be so hard to understand. "It doesn't matter. We've already taken the money." "Ha!" Mingdu laughed. Oli is right. Wang Yu's face was full of black lines. "I knew it. You guys didn't like me and wanted to sell me out." Hearing Wang Yu say this, Blood Red War Flag was scared out of his wits. He wouldn't go crazy and massacre Blood Alliance, right? Sigh. Wuji sighed and said to Wang Yu, "You know that we're doing this for your own good. I can help you get the highest price." After entering a professional team, the treatment he received was much better than the hard work of killing monsters and selling equipment. Everyone had seen Wang Yu's downfall at the start. However, the members of the Quanjin sect had no ambitions. Every one of them focused on playing, so there was a limit to how much they could help him. The only thing they could do was not to drag him down. They were all adults and naturally couldn't block their friend's future because of some pedantic things. Yeah. After signing a pro team, you'll quickly become a competitive star. At that time, you'll be able to grab a bunch of girls. You'll also be able to sell some biscuits and noodles. Isn't that great? Mingdu said excitedly, as if he was the one who had signed a contract. "Thank you everyone for thinking for me." Wang Yu was slightly touched. "But I'm also a person who likes freedom." Freedom. That's right. Wang Yu's greatest desire was freedom. After signing a team, it was the same as selling himself to the guild. When the time came, he would be able to enter the training base or the studio. How different would that be from his previous life? Chapter 384. All right, I'll respect your decision. Wuji nodded and didn't say anything else. All right, I'll respect your decision. Wuji nodded and didn't say anything else. These guys from Chuanjin usually gave people the impression that they were crazy, but they were actually smart people. Just like how they didn't like to drag others down, they also wouldn't impose their own subjective views on others. This was because they knew better than anyone else that Wang Yu had the ability to support his family. As for whether or not he wanted to become famous or rich, that wasn't something they should consider. When the others saw that Wuji had said so, they naturally shut their mouths. Only Dark North had a fish heart and said, "Do you think the people who rule the world will come to find trouble with us?" Dark North Fish Heart's guild was forcefully disbanded because Dark North Fish Heart didn't want to join Gokura Kajodo. He knew the character of these big guilds the best. Wuji said coldly, "That's good. Saves us the trouble of traveling thousands of miles to find them." It was not up to an outsider to comment on the Quanjin sect. In the entire game, World Domination was probably the only person who dared to call the Quanjin sect a trashy guild in front of Wuji. Even with the tempers of the Quanjin sect, the only reason why they did not fall out with Wuji on the spot was because Wuji might be their friend's future boss. Now that Wang Yu didn't care, the others naturally didn't have any scruples. The blood-red war flag couldn't help but sigh in its heart when it saw that these people, who numbered less than 10, dared to clamor to fight to the death against Quan Tianxia. Normally, if anyone else dared to say such arrogant words, they would definitely be ridiculed by the blood-red war flag. But since these words came from the mouth of the Quanjin sect, the blood-red war flag couldn't help but wipe the sweat off Quan Tianxia's forehead. "If you need help, feel free to find me." Blood-red war flag didn't hesitate. "I will," Wuji said. "By the way, how much did you sell me for?" Wang Yu suddenly asked blood-red war flag. Blood-red war flag, an outsider, was sitting here. Wang Yu immediately guessed that blood-red war flag was the mastermind. 500 per person. Blood-red war flag was very honest. If it were anyone else from Quanjun, they would have reduced the price several times over. Wang Yu was furious. He pointed at everyone and said, "You bunch of good-for-nothings selling your friend for just 500 gold coins. That's quite a lot. God is only worth 30 silver coins." Priest Wuji said piously. "Give me half," Wang Yu said as he stretched out his hand. Everyone knew that they were guilty, so they didn't say anything and took out their gold coins, counted them, and threw them to Wang Yu. Wang Yu weighed the money bag in his hand and said with a smile, "I'll forgive you this time, but don't do it again." Everyone, World Domination, who had resurrected in Cloud City, stood dumbly at the resurrection point. He clearly hadn't realized why the Grandmaster of Combat had suddenly killed someone while they were chatting happily. He had traveled thousands of miles to visit Yu Huicheng and spent 5,000 gold coins just to meet him. Not only did he not appreciate it, he even killed someone without saying a word. World Domination was only level 10, so that little bit of experience wasn't important to him. However, it wasn't a big deal. The more he thought about it, the more he felt humiliated. "Xiao Yao, where are you guys?" World Domination opened his friends list and clicked on Xiao Yao's profile picture. "Leveling." Xiao Yao replied, "What's wrong, boss? Did things go well?" This was the benefit of being a professional player. They didn't need to worry about supplies or equipment. Other than training their mechanical skills, their only task was to level up as fast as possible. Xiao Yao was currently a level 28 expert, not much weaker than Wang Yu. "I was killed." World Domination's voice was filled with grievance. Xiao Yao was startled when he heard this. Meow. How could he have forgotten that this brat was from the Chuanjin sect? This bunch of lunatics. With your little bit of experience, so what if you die? Xiao Yao said nonchalantly. Fuck. Imperial ruler of the world was so infuriated by Yulong Xiao Yao's words that he almost vomited blood. If it wasn't for the fact that Xiao Yao was an indispensable expert in the team, World Domination would probably have given him a hard time. Call Ain and the others to help me take revenge. World Domination replied unhappily. That's not good, Xiao Yao said. They were a professional team, and their current task was to level up and train. Killing people to settle things wasn't something they should do. Why not? This is an order. World domination said. Xiao Yao said, Boss, that guy isn't weak. He also has a bunch of friends who are famous for being troublemakers. Provoking them won't do us any good. We might even get into trouble. Xiao Yao was one of the core members of the Three Fiends village. He had interacted with Chuanjin and the others before. He understood Chuanjin all too well. Not only were they strong, but they also had a lot of tricks up their sleeves. If there was a conflict between the two sides, it would be better if Chuanjin took advantage of them. However, if they suffered a loss, then they could only wait for endless revenge. The guild leader of the Three Fiends village, listening to Spring Rain, had offended Chuanjin when they were playing with gold. In the end, the Three Fiends village was harassed by the 6 members of Chuanjin for a dozen games until they disbanded. Until now, listening to Spring Rain didn't even dare to show his face. There is a saying that the barefooted were not afraid of those who wore shoes. Others couldn't wait to avoid such a person who took pleasure in harming others. World domination actually wanted to kill their guild members? Wasn't he just looking for trouble? You're not listening to my orders? World domination asked coldly, his tone filled with anger. Xiao Yao hurriedly said, That's not what I meant. It's not worth it to fight with those people over such a small matter. Calm down. I'll go again when I have time. It's not like you're the one being bullied. Are you going to help or not? World domination asked angrily. Xiao Yao was doing this for the good of the guild. However, seeing world domination's narrow-mindedness, he immediately became unhappy. Even though you're the boss's trusted aide, I'm a team leader. We're the same rank. Who are you trying to fool around with? Without the boss's orders, our Xiao Yao battle team cannot leave our posts. Xiao Yao coldly replied, All right, Xiao Yao, you're good. I don't believe that I can't get my revenge without you. World domination angrily closed the chat window and clicked on Imperial Dragon Slash's profile picture. F*CK, I can't even get the Xiao Yao battle team's people to help me, and I can't even get the World Domination's people to help me. Even if I have a few hundred people surrounding him, I can still send him back to the beginner village. At the entrance of the setting sun shrine, Chuanjin's team had just finished today's dungeon and were teleported out when Wang Yu suddenly said in the channel, There's an ambush. An ambush? Chapter 385. Wang Yu recognized the person at the front. It was Imperial Dragon Slash. At this moment, Imperial Dragon Slash had brought people to surround the entrance of the Sunset God Temple. He then asked the players at the entrance, Where are Chuanjin's people? Imperial Dragon Slash had used Heavenly Eye to find Wang Yu and found that Wang Yu was at the Sunset God Temple dungeon. He guessed that Chuanjin's people were here. He said that Wang Yu didn't know many people, but with so many people in Chuanjin, there would definitely be people who knew one or two. Imperial Dragon Slash had once again underestimated Chuanjin's fame. As someone who could perfectly clear a Hell Mode dungeon, Chuanjin's people were quite famous here. When everyone saw that these people came with ill intentions, they were already afraid. When they heard that they were here to cause trouble for Chuanjin, they all turned to look at Chuanjin's group. Following everyone's gaze, Imperial Dragon Slash looked up and met Wang Yu's eyes. Anyone with yin-yang fish on their chest is Chuanjin's people. Don't let them run. Imperial Dragon Slash shouted and charged forward. Blood Great Wall and Little One's team were shocked when they saw World Domination's people charge forward. Who is this? Are they tired of living? Wang Yu said, World Domination's people. Hearing Wang Yu say who the enemy was, Little One immediately shut his mouth. F*CK, they were the rulers of the world. How do the people of the Quan Zhun sect offend them? Boss Wuji, what should we do? Blood Great Wall asked. Blood Great Wall was from Blood Alliance. Without the guild leader's orders, they couldn't help. Little One was terrified by World Domination's people. They were just a 10-man team and couldn't even be considered a guild. They didn't even dare to think about offending a giant like World Domination. Wuji said, This is our personal grudge. You guys can leave first. This, Blood Great Wall, and Little One were conflicted. After running a few dungeons, The two of them had gotten along quite well with Qiuanjin and the others. It would not be right for them to run away when they saw their friends being surrounded. It doesn't matter. If you really want to help, little one, set up 3 traps in the 3 positions between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Wuji pointed at 3 positions. All right, little one nodded. He couldn't be of much help in battle, but he could still set up a few traps. What about me? The Great Bloodwall asked. Run in the direction of 10 o'clock. These are potions to use on the way. If you really can't hold on, just reveal your identity. They won't dare to do anything to you. Wuji took out a stack of potions and stuffed them into the Redwall's hands. And, while they were talking, Dragon Riding Slash had already arrived in front of Qiuanjin's troops. Blood Great Wall roared and activated charge, bringing his troops in the 10 o'clock direction. Chase after them. Don't leave a single one alive. Dragon Slash shouted as he pointed at the Scarlet Great Wall. Immediately, dozens of people chased after them. Little One and the others quietly pulled away from Qiuanjin's troops and ran in the 5 o'clock direction. At the same time, Wuji ordered, Brother Spring, Old Li, clear the area. Old Cow, cover the rear. Everyone else, retreat to the west of the setting sun mountains. Before Wuji could finish his sentence, Spring's Source Dark Barrier had already risen. 6 demons lined up in a row, blocking World Domination's path. At this moment, Mingdu landed in the middle of World Domination's troops with lightning and fire. Mingdu's Heavenly Fire Lightning Descent was the upgraded version of Fire Arrow Sky Strike. Not only was the fire and lightning dual attribute spell high attack, but it could also be used continuously. As long as Mingdu had enough mana, he could cast it indefinitely. Bright Doe had just obtained a piece of equipment that could restore his mana, so he was in high spirits. A dense barrage of fire arrows rained down from the sky, instantly emptying the HP of the players at the forefront of Ruling Throne's crowd control. In a single exchange, Dragon Slash was beaten black and blue. He hurriedly called for the archers and mages beside him to exchange fire with Mingdu. Wang Yi used his staff to block both Mingdu and Spring Soar. He jumped up and down, the shadows of his staff flying up and down. Wherever he went, the arrows and spells were all shot down. Damn, it wasn't just the people from World Domination who were stunned by Wang Yu's strength. Even the players from other cities were stunned by Wang Yu's strength. Damn, this guy is seriously. Dragon Slash had seen Wang Yu's ferocity before, but he did not expect him to be this strong. Dragon Slash was just about to gather all the range classes to launch a second wave of attacks when he saw Wuji and the others turn around and run in the direction of Little One's trap. Old Thorn, take a few dozen people and chase after them. Dragon Slash pointed at Wuji and shouted. Dragon Slash, who was beside Dragon Slash, nodded. A group of thieves went into stealth and chased after them. Thief speed was second only to archers, and they also had speed-boosting skills. They quickly caught up to Wuji and the others. Turn left. Wuji quickly gave the order. The Qiuanjin group hurriedly stopped in their tracks and moved to the left. Pada pada pada. The sound of 3 traps activating rang out. Dragon Slash and the other 2 thieves were frozen on the spot. Thieves' stealth allowed them to be completely invisible. Outsiders could not see them, and so could their own people. The 3 people in front were suddenly frozen, and the people behind them could not stop in time. They all crashed into each other and revealed their true forms. Leave no one alive. Wuji pointed in the direction of the thieves with Dragon Slash. Bao San and 5 others, 2 warriors, 2 assassins, and a grandmaster of combat, rushed into the crowd. Old Yin's second brother charged and mocked, surrounding the enemy's formation. Bao San's whirlwind slash swept past. Behind him, Kendo Shui, Bei Ming Yu, and to place one's pride followed up with backstab and knee strike, taking away the remaining health. There were occasionally people who were lucky enough to escape, but they also died under Yang Na's arrows. In less than 10 seconds, the wave of thieves was cleared. Wuji did not linger and led the other 6 out of the encirclement, running towards the west side of the mountain range. Let's go. Seeing Wuji and the others leave, Chun Xiang took a step back under Wang Yu's cover. His body turned into a cloud of smoke and floated up the mountain. Mingdu also took a few steps back and used instant shift to jump onto a boulder, escaping from the range of World Domination's people. Damn, these cowards can really run. World Domination's people cursed when they saw Chuanjin's people escape. Meow. Are these people born in the year of the rabbit? Dragon Slash glanced at Wang Yu, who was blocking in front of him with his staff, and said, "What's the rush? Didn't you see there's another one over there? Our target this time is this guy." Everyone was speechless for a moment and asked, "Can we catch him?" Everyone had seen Wang Yu's invincible might just now. This kind of person could not be hit from a distance and could not be caught up to in close combat. He was like a mudfish, difficult to deal with. Dragon Slash said, "Nonsense, let's surround him. Behind him is the mountain wall. Even if he grows wings, he won't be able to escape." Wang Yu seemed to have heard the words of the Imperial Dragon Slash. He cast a sidelong glance at the Imperial Dragon Slash, turned around, and ran 2 steps. With the support of his long staff, he leaped up, stepped on a mountain wall, and jumped up. Chapter 386. Dragon Slash felt his blood rush to his throat. What was a slap in the face? This was it. He had just said that Wang Yu would not be able to escape even if he had wings. In the end, Wang Yu had escaped without wings. If he had wings, Wang Yu would have pissed on his head. Seeing Wang Yu step on a mountain wall and jump out of everyone's sight, Dragon Slash said with a red face, "Chase after him." World Domination and the others saw Dragon Slash's pathetic state. They held back their laughter and chased in the direction Wuji and the others escaped. "Where are we going now?" Mingdu asked in the guild channel. World Domination and a few hundred people blocked the entrance of the Sunset Temple. They must have come prepared. If they returned to the city now, they would definitely be blocked again. Wuji said, "We'll wait for you at Sunset Village." Sunset Village isn't suitable for cover, right? North Sea Yoyu asked curiously. Sunset Village was a small village that Xuanjin's group had discovered while running the map. The village's terrain was very low, like a small basin. The buildings were not tall, and it was easy to be killed by people from high position. "Did I say we're going to hide there?" Wuji asked. "Then why are we going there?" "We're going to eat them all there," Wuji replied. "Boss, you're not joking, right?" North Sea Yoyu broke out in a cold sweat. That lousy place was already a problem for cover, and they wanted to wipe out the enemy? Wasn't that nonsense? Wuji said, "You'll know when we get there." Xuanjin passed through the Sunset Mountain Range's level 30 monster area and went deeper. After 10 minutes, the 2 groups finally met near Sunset Village. As far as the eye could see, there was a small village sitting in a large pit. At the very edge of the village was a huge water wheel used for irrigation. A dozen or so small houses were arranged in an extremely irregular manner. The NPCs in the village were lazily basking in the sun outside the houses. It looked very harmonious. In the fields around Sunset Village, there were level 40-45 monsters everywhere. These monsters were called farmland destroyers and crop stealers. They were bandit-type monsters with high attack speed and were quite difficult to deal with. Even Xuanjin's group did not want to provoke them. Fortunately, these monsters were triggered monsters. As long as the players did not attack them, they would not attack the players. If the players attacked any of them, they would attack as a group. Be careful. Don't bump into these monsters. Otherwise, don't let them attack us. We'll just return to the city ourselves, Wuji reminded. He especially reminded Wang Yu twice. Wang Yu was a daring guy with great skills. There was nothing he didn't dare to touch. He could run and jump, and he could leave just by patting his butt. The others could only close their eyes and wait for death. Wuji, are you planning to use these monsters to deal with world domination? Chun Xiang asked with a frown after they passed through the farmlands and arrived at the center of the village. Yes. Wuji nodded. I don't think that's a good idea. These monsters have indiscriminate aggro. As long as we are within the village's range, they will attack us. What if we can't escape? Wuji smiled and said, we could just find a safe place to hide. A safe place? Everyone looked around. The place was filled with a bunch of thatched cottages. They would collapse with a single breath. How could they withstand the monster's attacks? Have you ridden on a Ferris wheel before? Wuji asked mysteriously. Yeah. Everyone was stunned. What did a Ferris wheel have to do with this broken place? To place one's pride pointed at a huge wheeled water wheel and shouted, I know. Wuji wants us to hide on top of that thing. The others looked over and instantly understood Wuji's intention. This water wheel was similar to the ancient tipping water wheel in China. It was set up on a small river at the entrance of the village. As the farmlands of the village were not small, it was irrigated by this water wheel. Therefore, it was unusually huge. The entire water wheel was 20 meters tall. The tipping bucket could fit a person. Interesting. Wang Yu rubbed his chin and asked, how are you going to climb to the top of this thing? Currently, the furthest the players could shoot was about 10 meters. Therefore, everyone had to climb at least 10 meters above the water wheel. However, everyone knew that the tipping bucket of the water wheel was a block at a time. The distance between each bucket was very large. Unless an expert climber like Wang Yu could climb up from the side, it would be difficult for normal players to climb up. Wuji said, that's easy. We will hide in the bucket first. Then, someone will stay behind and turn us up. Huh? Who would do this kind of work? Wang Yu laughed. It had to be said that Wuji was very quick-witted. However, this idea was a little funny. How was the last person to go up? Everyone looked at Wang Yu and asked, what do you think? Wang Yu was stunned. It can't be me, right? What do you think? Everyone asked. It was obvious. A person who could jump 30 meters on a tree trunk would be able to climb a water wheel easily. I don't have that much strength. Wang Yu had been born with great strength since he was young. This was the first time he admitted defeat in terms of strength. It couldn't be helped. This was the setting of the game. No matter how strong Wang Yu was in real life, his strength was no match for a warrior's. It's fine. Look at how big the water wheel is. It can't be manually operated. There must be something like a switch here. Wuji said, that can't be. The technology in the game is so advanced. Wang Yu said in disbelief. Of course, the power of magic is limitless. There are even airships in the game. Is it that strange to have a switch? That's true. Wang Yu nodded. You guys sit on it first. I'll go look for a switch. Okay. Everyone climbed into the bucket happily. Ferris wheel. Single dogs without girlfriends rarely played this thing in real life. The space inside the tumbler was very big, and it could fit 3 people. Yang Na did not want to squeeze with these men, but Wuji used the excuse of reducing the space can cause more damage to the ground to trick Yang Na, Bao San, and himself into the same tumbler. This made Mingdu very angry. Bao San, come and change seats with me. I'll treat you to a drink next time. Old Li, you and Brother Chun will be more useful together. Wuji said. Bullsh ***. Who wants to sit with a perverted uncle? To place one's pride, Bao San. Get out of the way. Bao San looked at Mingdu indifferently and gripped the hilt of his sword tightly. Mingdu saw this and hurriedly changed his words. All right. You can sit. It's my turn next time. At this time, Wang Yu found a light blue magic switch directly under the water wheel. Wang Yu flipped the switch. The water wheel rose slowly. When it rose to about 10 meters, Wang Yu turned off the switch and was ready to jump up. Wuji sent a message to Wang Yu. Don't come up first. You have a mission later. Chapter 387. Quest. What quest? Wang Yu asked Wuji in puzzlement. Do you see the house at 1 o'clock? If you jump up there, you should be able to see the monster at the edge of the farmland. Oh, let me see. Wang Yu responded. She quickly ran over and jumped onto the roof. As expected, there was a small monster sitting in the farmland at the corner of the house. This small monster's name was Blue. It seemed to be an elite monster. Then what? Kill it? Wang Yu asked impatiently. Wang Yu was very interested in monsters. Wuji said, No, stay on the roof for now. When I tell you to shoot it, you can shoot it. This monster was the leader of all the other monsters in the field. As long as the players ran out of the basin, the monsters would stop chasing them. However, if the players attacked this blue monster, the monsters would chase them until they were dead. The death here referred to either the players dying or the monsters dying. Not long ago, Wuji and Chunxiang had come here to do a faction quest. Chunxiang's demon had accidentally attacked this blue monster. The two of them were chased out of the basin and ran for a long distance. In the end, they were still surrounded and killed by the monsters, so Wuji had a deep impression of this. Not long after Wang Yu set up the ambush, World Domination's people also arrived. Other than the dozens of thieves that Wuji's group had killed, World Domination still had around 200 people behind him. The group of players that had chased after Blood Alliance had also returned. At the same time, Wuji received news from Blood Great Wall that the 5 from Blood Alliance had safely left. This wasn't because World Domination's people were trash and couldn't even kill 5 people. It was because they were in Yu Huicheng and Blood Alliance was the local tyrant. World Domination's few hundred people didn't dare to provoke Blood Alliance. Therefore, after knowing that they had been tricked by Blood Alliance, they could only grit their teeth and swallow it. After all, Blood Great Wall was only running back to the city and didn't do anything else. It was already good enough that they didn't pursue World Domination's actions. Why is there no one? Dragon Riding Slash looked around the village from above and muttered in a strange tone. The Heavenly Eye indicated that Wang Yu's coordinates were nearby. Xuanzhen's group of 10 was not a small target. They could see the entire Xiaopa village at a glance, so there was no reason for them to not see Wang Yu's group. There should be someone on that roof. An archer beside the Imperial Dragon Slash pointed at Wang Yu's position. Dragon Riding Slash took a closer look. Wasn't that right? The clothes that Wang Yu was wearing were black and white, which perfectly blended in with the color of the dirt. Fortunately, the archer's eyesight was good, otherwise he would have missed it. It really is him. How'd he get up there? Imperial Dragon Zhongkong, who had been chasing after the Scarlet Great Wall, curiously asked. No matter how low a Western-style straw hut was, it was still at least 3 to 4 meters high. Even if the other party was a grandmaster of combat, it was impossible for him to jump so high. He jumped up, I guess. Dragon Riding Slash replied in a bad mood. Imperial Dragon Zhongkong had not fought with Wang Yu earlier, so he did not know what Wang Yu was capable of. This guy could even jump up a mountain, so jumping up a broken straw hut was not a problem at all. So high. Imperial Dragon Zhongkong wanted to ask further, but Dragon Riding Slash interrupted him. This guy is very cunning. Everyone, don't make a sound. Surround him quietly and eliminate him. Understood. World Domination's group received the order and carefully walked down from the high ground. They quietly surrounded the village. Wang Yu was lying on the side of the straw hut, staring at the blue monster. Dragon Riding Slash and the others were so far away that he could not sense them, so he did not know that World Domination's group had already surrounded them. However, all of this fell into Wuji's eyes. World Domination's group's target was Wang Yu. At this time, in order to not alert the enemy, they naturally would not provoke the monsters in the field. Soon, the group passed through the field unscathed. Just as World Domination's group entered the village, Wuji sent a message to Wang Yu. Open fire. Bang. Wang Yu pulled the trigger of the Fire Dragon magic gun with one hand. After a gunshot, the blue monster was sent flying by Wang Yu's shot. Wang Yu's shot did not matter, but all the monsters in the field had an exclamation mark appear on their heads. This was the sign of the monster's aggro. Following that, all the monsters ran towards the village from all directions. When the NPCs in the village heard the gunshot, they quickly ran into the houses and closed the doors. Damn, he saw us. Quick, don't let him escape. Dragon Riding Slash was startled by the sudden gunshot and thought that Wang Yu had discovered him. He quickly ordered World Domination's group to surround the house that Wang Yu was hiding in. At this time, Wang Yu also discovered Dragon Riding Slash and the others. Why are you so late? Wang Yu asked with a smile. Dragon Controlling Zhan was stunned by Wang Yu's baffling words. He immediately shouted, just surrender. We have a few hundred people surrounding you. Just accept your fate if you stab us. Dragon Riding Slash originally wanted to say that Wang Yu would not be able to escape even if he had wings, but after considering that it was inauspicious, he changed his words. Wang Yu laughed. Are you sure? Nonsense. Can't you see so many people? Dragon Riding Slash said boldly. Wang Yu sat on the eaves and pointed behind Dragon riding Slash, then turn around and take a look. Ha! You still want to trick me with this kind of trick? Ah! Before Dragon riding Slash could finish speaking, a scream suddenly rang out. Dragon riding Slash turned around and saw a group of people lowering their heads and stabbing at anyone they saw. "There's an ambush! Quickly run!" Dragon riding Slash shouted and rushed forward with his group. However, before they could even take a few steps, another group of people surrounded them. This time, Dragon riding Slash finally saw the appearance of the ambushers. It wasn't a human, but a group of monsters in the field. There were at least 400 to 500 of them gathered together in a dense circle. I have quite a lot of people with me too. You guys have fun." Wang Yu saw that the monsters had successfully surrounded World Domination's group and laughed. He jumped onto another house and repeated this a few times. Very quickly, Wang Yu jumped onto the water wheel in the center of the village. Following this, Wang Yu used night jump and flashed onto the wheel of the water wheel. After climbing up a few meters, he got stuck on the axle of the water wheel and looked down at the commotion. The monster's intelligence was not very high. Once their aggro was activated, they only had one goal, and that was to clear out all the players in front of them. World Domination's group was surrounded by these monsters and attacked from the back. In just one round, they had lost nearly 30 people. Many of the monsters rushed into the group of players. The players either dodged or attacked. The scene was extremely chaotic. Dragon riding Slash was the leader of World Domination. After knowing that he was surrounded by monsters, he only paused for a moment before quickly regaining his composure. Then, he methodically ordered, "Everyone, don't panic. Form up and advance towards the water wheel. Don't let him escape." Chapter 388. As a veteran large guild, World Domination had always been picky about players. Those who were chosen by Dragon riding Slash to hunt down Wang Yu's group were naturally not mediocre. Under Dragon riding Slash's command, World Domination's people quickly stabilized their formation. No matter how difficult it was to deal with these monsters in Sunset Village, they did not have much intelligence. World Domination's tanks quickly surrounded the fragile players in the middle and formed a circular formation. Under the orderly formation, World Domination's people gradually resisted the attack of the farmland destroyers. "Hey, these guys are good," Wang Yu said in surprise as he watched World Domination's people fight more and more rhythmically. Wang Yu thought that these small monsters would be enough to kill World Domination's people. He did not expect these guys to form a formation so quickly and turn the tables. Wuji said, "Of course, these are World Domination's elite players. Don't you see that more than half of these guys are wearing silver equipment?" Judging strength from equipment was the most intuitive method in the game. Ordinary players could gather at least a set of bronze equipment. Elite experts had more than half a set of silver equipment. The core experts of the guild all had silver equipment and a few pieces of gold equipment. As for gold equipment, even Xuanzhen's group of super experts had not gathered it yet. Elite players had excellent equipment, so they could fight monsters that were higher levels than them, albeit with some difficulty. However, when it came to group fights, there was a huge gap between the monsters and players who knew how to stand in formation and how to fight in groups. 200 elite players against 400 to 500 high-level monsters could be evenly matched in a head-on fight. After the formation stabilized, Dragon riding Slash led his men out of the monsters' encirclement and moved toward the water wheel. "Oh my, they're actually chasing after us. They're really relentless. I'll go and kill them." Wang Yu scratched his head, feeling a headache coming on. He finally understood why those big guilds were so annoyed with the Xuanzhen sect. If the people of Xuanzhen fought head-on, they definitely wouldn't be able to win against the big guilds. However, these guys were much more clingy than the people below them. Furthermore, Wuji was an expert at playing dirty. If there were too few people, they wouldn't be able to catch him. If there were too many people, they would feel even more distressed if they were stuck to them. In this game world where there were infinite lives, there was only one word to describe this kind of person: annoying. Wuji chuckled and said, "Hee hee, this is the effect I want. Don't worry, just wait. The person who ruled the world fought as he moved, and the monsters followed closely behind. Due to World Domination's class being fully equipped, even though their damage output was low, they were able to fight steadily. On the other hand, these monsters were all damage dealers, so their recovery could not keep up with their pace. By the time World Domination's party reached the water cart, nearly half of the monsters had already been killed. The drop rate for killing monsters above their level was pretty good, and there were quite a few items scattered around the village. Yes, there were also some dagger sleeve darts and similar equipment. Because the players were surrounded, they didn't have the chance to pick them up. They could only let the items quietly lie on the ground, waiting for them to refresh. Seeing Wang Yu stuck on the wheel and looking down, Dragon Rider sneered, "I don't believe that you'll stay up there forever." After saying that, Dragon Rider ordered, "Everyone, rely on the water cart and attack with all your might." World Domination's party received the order and lined up with their backs against the water cart. Their line of fire became much fiercer, and not long after, the monsters in the village were finally wiped out. After this battle, World Domination's party had lost nearly half of their members, and there were only 100 or so of them left. However, in a situation where they were surrounded and ambushed, killing monsters above their level, and only losing 100 people in order to kill 500 monsters was already a very good result. The strength of World Domination's players was still commendable. However, they had neglected the most important thing, and that was why only one person from Chuanjin had shown up so far. How is it? In front of absolute power, all schemes and schemes are useless. Don't you understand that? Imperial Dragon / once again proudly raised his head and yelled, "Not bad, very strong." Wang Yu nodded. The strength of World Domination's party had exceeded Wang Yu's expectations. Of course, that was only relative. Compared to the motley crew he had met before, World Domination was indeed a good choice. Dragon Rider laughed. "Ha ha ha. If you're afraid, then come down and die. I know that you're an expert. If you join World Domination, we might become colleagues in the future, and I might consider letting you go." Mingdu glanced at Dragon Rider / who was laughing out loud, and gritted his teeth as he scolded in the channel. "Damn, looking at that bastard's disgusting appearance, why do I have the urge to spit in his mouth?" Everyone. Mingdu's words were clearly more disgusting than Dragon Rider's pretentious behavior. "With just a few of you?" Wang Yu calmly asked the dragon riding / "What? Isn't 100 people enough to fight you?" After Dragon Rider had seen Wang Yu's strength, he had classified Wang Yu as the most dangerous person. That was why he did not dare to underestimate Wang Yu. Sending a few hundred people to block Xuanjin was enough to show how important Wang Yu was to Wang Yu. At this moment, Dragon Rider did not believe that 100 people could not defeat a single Wang Yu. The system's stats were fixed. Wang Yu was confident that he could fight 30 to 50 players by himself. Wang Yu was not Superman, but even if he could not defeat them, it did not mean that he could not escape. Furthermore, Wang Yu is not alone here. It's enough, but do you really think it's 100 against 1? Do you have reinforcements? Dragon Rider asked in shock. World Domination's party had expended a lot of energy in the previous battle. If another wave of monsters came, they would not be able to hold on. Wang Yu said, "Look behind you." Hearing Wang Yu's words, everyone was startled and turned their heads. At this moment, 2 heads emerged from the water wheel in the air. One was a vulgar middle-aged man. The other was a lowly youth. The 2 waved their staffs. A darkness barrier rose up from the crowd. World Domination's party was in a tight formation, and Spring Source Move had instantly immobilized dozens of people. At the same time, the immobilized World Domination's party felt their feet heat up, and a sea of flames rose up from the crowd. "Fuck, there are people on the water wheel. Scatter." World Domination's party turned pale with fright and hastily scattered. However, Spring Source, Toxic Nova, and Mingdu's Heavenly Flame Lightning had already descended. Mingdu's spells had always been powerful, and with Spring Source support, the 3 AoE spells instantly killed dozens of World Domination's party members. At this moment, 3 figures jumped out from the flip bucket closest to the ground. They were Ian Lauer, and the two assassins, Mingjian Daoxue and Baiming Yuyu, disappeared after they landed on the ground. Yin Lao rolled forward and stabilized himself. He raised his shield and charged into the crowd. At the same time, Bao San, and to place one's pride, jumped down from the water wheel. Chapter 389. To place one's pride was a grandmaster of combat. When he was about to land, he activated Collapsing Fist and flew close to the ground before landing steadily. Bao 3 was awesome. He locked onto the world-ruling Thrones players in midair and activated Triple Slash. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. With 3 consecutive displacements and a charge, Bao 3 arrived beside Yin Lao Air in an instant. Yin Lao Air activated AoE Taunt, and the surrounding world-ruling Thrones players were involuntarily pulled towards him. Bao 3 swung his sword and activated Whirlwind Slash. Another 6 world-ruling Throne players immediately turned into light and flew away. To place one's pride took the lead, specifically looking for clerics and warlocks who had fragile armor and could not run fast. He dragged, pulled, and levitated them in front of him to crowd control them. The two assassins, Mingjian Daoxue and Baiming Yuyu, followed closely behind, turning to place one's pride's crowd control players into white light in a matter of minutes. The 5 of them were like tigers entering a flock of sheep, ambushing Dragon Riding Slash. When Dragon Riding Slash reacted, there were less than 50 world-ruling Throne players left. Tanks protect, mages, archers, retreat, and deal damage. Dragon Riding Slash retreated while commanding his subordinates to counterattack. With 50 people working together, as long as they avoided the range of the mages, dealing with 5 people was like child's play. Who knew that when the mages and archers on world-ruling Throne's side peeked out from behind their shields, a few crossbow bolts were shot at their faces. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 3 long-range attackers were instantly killed. Damn, what kind of range is that? The other mages and archers panicked and hurriedly hid behind their shields. Don't hide, try showing your head. To place one's pride, hooked his finger at Dragon Riding Slash and shouted arrogantly. His appearance was even more annoying than Yin Lao Air's taunting. Melee classes are all idiots without skills. Wuji was very disdainful of to place one's pride's arrogance. Wang Yu sneered. Do you believe that I can throw you down at any moment? Wuji looked down, rolled his eyes at Wang Yu, and didn't say anything. Imperial Dragon Slash's face had already turned purple from being stifled. He had never thought that there would be a day when he would be provoked by a mere 5 people to the point where he didn't dare to take another step forward. Although World Domination Quan's side still had more than 40 people, whether it was their momentum or morale, they were clearly suppressed by the people from the Quanjin sect, especially when they saw the people on the water chariots. World Domination Quan's side no longer resisted. At this moment, the one regretting the most was Imperial Dragon Slash. Ever since he had witnessed Wang Yu's abilities, Imperial Dragon Slash had instinctively assumed that a small guild with only a dozen or so players couldn't possibly be that capable. The only reason such a small guild was famous on the forums was because of Wang Yu. The reason why Imperial Dragon Slash had brought 300 people to surround this group was mostly because of Wang Yu. No matter how strong a person was, he couldn't beat a few hundred people. That was why Imperial Dragon Slash thought that this operation would be a piece of cake. Who would have thought that these fellows from the Chuanjin sect were all as ferocious as wolves and tigers? Not mentioning the others, even that little brat, the Grandmaster of Combat, was so savage. Moreover, his maneuvers and techniques were daunting. The dragon-controlling Slash even felt that even the divine dragon-controlling Fist would not be able to gain an advantage in front of that little brat. Damn, how is this possible? Fist Bro is an expert from the Carefree Battle Team. He's not much weaker than the top gods in the circle. How can a brat be so strong? Imperial Dragon Slash shook his head, tossing aside this unrealistic thought, and looked at the 5 people on the other side. Seeing Chuanjin's group, Imperial Dragon Slash felt his teeth ache again. Although these guys couldn't compare to the experts of the top battle teams, they shouldn't have a problem against his group. Just as the 2 sides were facing off, Wang Yu jumped off the water chariot and flipped the switch again. After releasing the people on the chariot, the five walked over. The person who controls the world? Wuji asked Imperial Dragon Slash as he walked to the front. Yes. Being beaten up like this, Imperial Dragon Slash really wanted to say no. I haven't gone to find trouble with him yet. That idiot still dares to send people over? Wuji asked coldly. Imperial Dragon Slash finally realized that the person Wuji was talking about was his immediate superior. Who are you? Imperial Dragon Slash couldn't help but ask when he saw that this guy's tone was even more arrogant than the brat who provoked him. Wuji said shamelessly, I'm Wuji, the boss of this group of good-for-nothings. Hearing this, the Chuanjin members all had a cross on their heads. If it wasn't for the fact that outsiders were here, Wuji would probably have been beaten to death by his own people. Hiss! Imperial Dragon Slash sucked in a breath of cold air. His subordinates were already so strong. How strong was this boss? Hello. Imperial Dragon Slash replied in a trembling voice. There's no need to say hello. Go back and tell that idiot that in a few days, our Chuanjin will go to Chiyun City to meet him. I want to let him know that there's no need for your trash guild to exist. Hearing Wuji's words, everyone from Heavenly Domination was stunned. This bastard wasn't just arrogant. He was simply too arrogant and condescending. As one of the veteran guilds in the gaming circle, Heavenly Domination had more than 5,000 members. After the official launch of the game, the number of members continued to increase. There were countless expert players, and they had one of the top professional teams in the country. A mere guild leader of a dozen or so people actually dared to say that he would destroy Heavenly Domination. This could no longer be described as arrogant. He was overestimating himself, like a mayfly trying to shake a tree or a mantis trying to stop a chariot. What? Are you afraid? Wuji looked at the crowd provocatively. Afraid my ass, you shameless bastard. Heavenly Domination was silent, but he was cursing fiercely in his heart. Wuji continued, Hee, I know that you bunch of ignorant people aren't afraid, but when you go back and bring the message back, I'm afraid that Heavenly Domination will be trembling in fear. *CK your mother. Even a clay figurine would have 3 points of character. A person who ruled over the world was not a clay figurine. Hearing Wuji's arrogant words, someone could not take it anymore. With a loud shout, he shot an arrow over. Yang Na, who was beside Wuji, saw this and pulled Wuji to the side with her left hand. She raised her crossbow with her right hand and shot an arrow at that person. Wuji pointed at Heavenly Domination and said indifferently, Kill them. The Chuanjin players were indifferent. No one wanted to admit that they were Wuji's underlings. 50 gold. Wuji gritted his teeth and said, Bastard, hand over your life. The Chuanjin players rushed into the enemy formation under the cover of Mingdu and Yang Na's fire. Group taunts, crowd control, fire coverage, and killing the survivors. In another round, Heavenly Domination's people were slaughtered. Sunset Village was in a mess at this moment, and the ground was littered with equipment and items. Everyone picked up the items and asked, Will they wait for us in the city? No, Wuji said. Their boss is already scared out of his wits. Are we really going to Chiyun City to destroy their guild? The one who asked was Wang Yu. Are you kidding me? Heavenly Domination has thousands of people. I'm just scaring them. Wuji did not expect Wang Yu to be so naive as to believe his bragging. Is there a point? At the very least, Heavenly Domination won't be able to sleep for a few days. Chapter 390. After the battlefield was very messy. It took a long time to clean up the things on the ground. I say, old cow, why did you pick up so much food instead of equipment? Mingjin Daoxue saw Wang Yu pick up all the food dropped by the monsters on the ground and asked, puzzled. Equipment could be sold for money, but who could he sell the food to? Wang Yu shook his head and said, I don't know. I saw that it was a quest item, so I picked it up. Wang Yu was very interested in anything that had the word quest in it. This was because the quest system in this game was quite annoying, and he did not know when it would be useful. Anyway, Wang Yu's backpack was relatively large, so he was not afraid of taking up space. Mingji and Daoshua laughed and said, "Your habits are too old-fashioned. Things like food should be beginner quests like collecting food. The rewards are very low, and even if you encounter it, it is useless." Mingji and Daoshua said this from experience, because there were many such collection quests in the novice village. The quests were complicated, and the rewards were very low. No matter how small a fly is, it is still meat. Wang Yu smiled and threw the last portion of food on the ground into his backpack. Creak! At this moment, the door of a straw hut beside Wang Yu opened. A white-haired old man walked out of the house and went straight to Wang Yu. He said gratefully, "Lord Warrior, thank you for leading people to eliminate the scourge of our village." At the same time, everyone received a series of system notifications. System notification: you have triggered a hidden quest, survival, current quest, disaster bandits, quest introduction, eliminate all intruders in Sunset Village. System notification: you have completed the hidden quest, disaster bandits, obtained 2 million EXP. System notification: you have triggered a hidden quest, survival, current quest, Sunset Village's food. Do you accept? F***CK. Seeing the quest notification, Mingji and Daoshua, who had been mocking Wang Yu just now, felt his jaw drop. Is this even possible? He had originally thought that the food was useless, but it actually triggered a quest. Could it be that picking up quest items was the correct way to play the game? The others were also surprised and said, "It's a chain of quests. Old Cow's luck is really unparalleled. Don't tell me you knew that there were quests here. Quickly tell us, did Sister Nyo give you a hint?" It was no secret in Xuanzhen that Mu Zixin was a customer service employee of a gaming company. Wang Yu spread his hands helplessly, indicating that he did not understand what was going on. Chun Xiang pondered for a while and said, "It doesn't seem like the trigger for the mission is to eliminate all the monsters here, but our team leader is Wuji, and the monsters are killed by the people from world domination. Why is the old cow the one who triggered the mission?" Wuji said, "Did you forget? That blue monster was killed by Iron Ox?" Oh, no wonder. Chun Xiang immediately understood. The condition to trigger this quest was determined by the first person to attack the monster. Poor world domination. He had helped others kill monsters and completed the quest for nothing. In the end, he had been utterly annihilated. Not only did he not receive any quest rewards, but he had also dropped so many pieces of equipment. He had suffered a double loss. As the two of them spoke, Wang Yu had already accepted the quest. The Quanjin group received another system notification. You have accepted the hidden mission Sunset Village's food. Sunset Village's food has been plundered by the refugees of the Sunset Mountains refugee camp. Help collect 200-1000 food. Quest hint: this quest is extremely dangerous. It's best to find more helpers. After seeing the quest introduction, everyone could not help but hesitate. This quest was too strange. It did not specify the level and only gave a hint of extreme danger. It was completely different from the previous quests. Could the system be playing tricks? Mingdu walked to the old man in a few steps and asked, "Sir, what's the reward for this quest?" According to the usual practice of doing hidden quests, the NPCs who issued the quest were mostly intelligent NPCs. Players could ask them for information such as rewards or the monster's weaknesses. "Please, you must help us." The old NPC replied mechanically. Mingdu was dumbfounded. This old NPC was actually not an intelligent NPC. It was a waste to ask him to go in. Your way of asking and technique are not good. Watch me. Wang Yu confidently took out 5 gold coins and waved them in front of the old man. He asked, "Is there anything we need to pay attention to when doing this quest?" As he spoke, Wang Yu turned to Mingdu and said, "The NPCs in the game are all greedy. As long as they're willing to spend money, there's nothing they won't say." The next moment, the old man reached out and took the gold coins from Wang Yu. He nodded and bowed. "Thank you, Lord Warrior. Please help us." F***CK. This time, Wang Yu was also embarrassed. "Haha, old cow, are you spending too little?" Mingdu said with a laugh. "Maybe." Wang Yu mumbled and took out his wallet again. Wuji walked forward and swung his staff at the old man's head, causing him to tumble. Tell me, how do we do this quest? Wuji raised his staff and looked like he was going to hit him again. Faced with Wuji's abuse, the old man finally changed his lines. You thug, as violent as the drunken Carl in the refugee camp. One day, you bad guys will all die in a barrel of wine. Wine. Hearing the old man's lines, everyone's eyes lit up. F*CK. He won't say anything if we don't hit him. This old thing, he likes this kind of thing. Mingdu spat at the old man and cursed. It turned out that the main entry point for doing this quest was wine. Non-intelligent NPCs were different from intelligent NPCs. Intelligent NPCs had all kinds of emotions, like real people. As long as they were happy, they would be given a quest hint. Non-intelligent NPCs did not have any emotions. To find emotional breakthrough, one had to observe carefully. This old NPC's only weakness was that he was scared by the refugees, so his only emotional breakthrough was fear. How do you know this old man will be afraid? Wang Yu humbly asked Wuji for advice. Because when those monsters entered the villagers were so scared that they hid in their houses. Wuji said, Awesome. Wang Yu gasped in admiration from the bottom of his heart. As expected of a prodigy, his thought process was indeed faster than that of an ordinary person. Do we go back to the city to buy wine now? Yang Na asked Wuji. As the fastest class, she was the best at running errands. No need, I have wine here, Wang Yu said and took out a bottle of wine, showing it off in front of everyone. Everyone was surprised. I thought you didn't drink much. Why do you have wine with you? Wang Yu smiled and said, Skill required. Wang Yu had just obtained the wine immortal skill, so he had a lot of wine in his bag. Drunken fist. Everyone's eyes widened. Wang Yu's drunken fist had left a deep impression on everyone. Sort of. Everyone exclaimed, Tis TSK, he's drinking stimulants in disguise. Chapter 391. In a game of rebirth, refugees were a very special existence. They did not belong to the light faction, the dark faction, or even a neutral faction. These people did not have residences and lived in groups outside the various main cities. Usually, they were led by a leader. Occasionally, they would form groups to raid villages outside the city. They were the kind of NPCs that no one cared about. Although they were not as formal as bandits, they had a large number of people and were relatively difficult to deal with. Yu Huiqing's refugee settlement was on a small hill at the junction of the Sunset Plains and the Sunset Mountains. When Wang Yu and the others arrived at the settlement, they finally understood why the quest was extremely dangerous. The residences of these refugees were very simple. They only used bags of food to form a large circle. Then, the large circle was scattered with shacks that only served to shelter them from the wind. It was like a small village. However, such a simple settlement was densely packed with thousands of refugees. These refugees were all above level 40. Like the farmland destroyers of Sunset Village, they were monsters with high attack power and movement speed. Damn, it's a good thing I asked for clues about this quest. Otherwise, I would have lost several lives. Xuanzhen's members secretly clicked their tongues. Even Wang Yu had a lingering fear. If so many agility-type monsters surrounded him, each one of them could kill him. He would not even have a chance to escape. This is bad, Wang Yu said with a frown. They were facing thousands of monsters. Xuanzhen only had 10 people. No matter who it was, they would definitely die if they went in. Wuji said, Dao Xue, your stealth is strong. Go in and see if you could trigger a quest. All right, famed sword Dao Xue replied, then concealed his figure and quietly snuck into the refugee gathering place. Famous sword Dao Xue's stealth had already reached its upper limit. As long as monsters were not above level 30, they would not be able to see through his stealth. Hence, famous sword Dao Xue easily slipped into the encampment. Not long after, Dao Xue sent a message. The refugee leader, Carl, said that he has not tasted alcohol in a long time. Should we give him some? No, come back first. Wuji hurriedly stopped Dao Xue. Why don't you let Dao Xue give the alcohol to Carl? Mingdu asked Wuji curiously. Before Wuji could answer, Wang Yu rubbed his chin and said, Because this quest is a trap. Oh, you saw through it? Tell me what's going on. Wu Ji said in surprise. Wang Yu had always been a representative of the Quanjin sect who used force to solve everything. At this time, when he heard that Wang Yu had seen through the trap of this mission, he couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Wang Yu said, "These refugees and the monsters in Sunset Village should have the same aggro settings. The aggro settings should be the same as the monsters in Sunset Village. Then these food bags must be their private property. Even if we get their leader drunk and don't trigger the aggro, once we move these food bags, we'll definitely trigger the aggro of the monsters again," Wang Yu said. "Not bad. Your analysis is correct. This is the biggest trap." Wu Ji nodded repeatedly. "Damn, the system is too sinister." The others turned pale with fright. Back in Sunset Village, the Quanjin group had seen a scene of small monsters surrounding and attacking them. Now, if they attracted the aggro of any small monster, the consequences would be unimaginable if thousands of monsters charged at them at the same time. "Old cow, if you go on like this, we won't be able to survive," Mingdu said with a bitter face. Not only was this guy's martial arts unrivaled in the world, but his intelligence had also suddenly increased. Mingdu felt a deep pressure. Wang Yu sighed. "I've been tricked by NPCs too many times. I have no choice but to be careful." "Then what should we do now? Are we going to wait until the sky is dark and they are asleep?" Mingdu asked again. "Do you think it will get dark here?" Wu Ji glanced at the sunset and asked. Mingdu was silent. The sun in Yuhuicheng had never moved. If the sky was not dark, the refugees would probably not sleep. Wu Ji pointed at the gathering place and said, "We just need to get all the refugees drunk." "That's a little difficult, right?" Wang Yu said, "I don't have that much alcohol in my bag." Wang Yu only had a total of 10 stacks of alcohol in his bag, which meant that 100 bottles could make 100 people drunk. There are thousands of people here. Did they have to go to Yuhuicheng to buy alcohol? Putting aside the time and money it would take to make a trip, the alcohol that could make thousands of people drunk was very heavy. It was definitely not something that could be transported by 10 people. Wu Ji looked around and looked at a well not far away. "We can mix it with water." "Damn, nonsense. Can alcohol get drunk after mixing water?" Wang Yu said in disdain. "One look, and I can tell that you don't understand alcohol. In real life, low alcohol can not only get people drunk, but it can also kill them. Do you know that? Are you sure it's the same in the game?" Wu Ji scratched his head. "I'm not sure, but we can get Brother Chun to mix poison in. The biggest effect of a warlock's poison is to slow them down. Once these monsters are slowed down, who would be afraid of them?" Wang Yu was speechless. "What if it doesn't work?" Hee, what are you afraid of? It's not like we're the ones delivering the alcohol. At most, we'll just let Dao Shui die once." Wu Ji laughed sinisterly. Dao Shui was speechless. "Can you not let me hear you when you're scheming against me?" Since the breakthrough point of this quest was alcohol, the system god naturally had some hints. For example, there was a pile of alcohol barrels at the entrance of the gathering place. The group from a Chuanjin sect moved the wine barrels to the side of the well. The 10 of them hurriedly followed Wu Ji's instructions and mixed the 9 batches of wine into the 20 large wine barrels. Wang Yu tasted it. There was only a slight taste of alcohol. How is this alcohol mixed with water? This was water mixed with alcohol. Dao Shui, prepare to be sacrificed. Wang Yu silently mourned for Dao Shui. After mixing the alcohol, Chun Xiang took out packets of blue poison and poured them into the barrels. Wu Ji urged from the side, "Throw them all in, throw 2 more packets, and try to poison them to death." Chun Xiang said angrily, "Don't talk nonsense. I'll pour poison that can poison people to death into your mouth first. Do you know how much mid-grade poison is worth?" Warlock poisons were daily consumables. The consumption was even higher than archer's arrows. Even if these poisons were made by Chun Xiang himself, the price was still very high. After pouring the poisons, the blended alcohol in the 20 barrels turned blue and emitted a strange fragrance. It looked very tempting. "Go, Dao Shui. We believe that you will complete the quest with outstanding results." Chapter 392. When named Sword Daoshue snuck up to leader Carl's side, the latter was muttering to himself for a drink. Carl's name was Yellow, indicating that he was a quest-triggering NPC. Hence, he did not react to named Sword Daoshue's sudden appearance. "Boss, the alcohol is here." Ming Qin Daoshue walked to Carl's side and said carefully. At the same time, he took out a bottle of alcohol. Carl was a drunkard. When he saw the alcohol in Ming Qin Daoshue's hands, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He drooled and said, "Not bad. You did well. You should be rewarded." Ming Qin Daoshue smiled and said, "It's only right. Aside from these, I also found quite a lot of alcohol in the village at the foot of the mountain. Boss, send a few people to carry the alcohol in and share it with everyone." "Good idea, good idea. Brothers, it's been a long time since we drank. I can't enjoy it alone. Someone, follow this person to carry the alcohol in." Carl shouted. "What's your name again?" "Dragon Riding / Ming Qin Daoshue smiled very innocently. "What a strange name. Go." Carl scratched his head and waved his hand to dismiss Ming Qin Daoshue. The other members of the Chuanjin sect were lying in ambush nearby. When they saw Ming Jian lead a group of people and carry all 20 barrels of wine into the gathering place, they laughed in the channel. "Daoshue sure knows how to act like a coward. He's used to it," Mingdu said. Ming Qin Daoshue was a small boss in real life. He had done this a lot and was very familiar with it. After carrying the barrels into the gathering place, Carl excitedly called everyone over to drink. When he saw the alcohol, he asked Ming Qin Daoshue suspiciously, "Why is this blue?" Ming Qin Daoshue broke out in a cold sweat and hurriedly said, "This is blueberry wine. Oh, let me try it." Carl licked his tongue and was about to drink it. Ming Qin Daoshue hurriedly stopped him. "Boss, the wine I gave you is good wine from the cellar. The barrels are all cheap fruit wine. How can that wine be worthy of you?" What a joke. Carl could not be harmed. Otherwise, the refugees here would go on a rampage and kill him. At that time, only death awaited him. "Is that so?" Carl looked at Ming Qin Daoshue with admiration and mumbled, "Good lad. You know how to do things. Boss has taught me well." Ming Jian Daoshue pretended to be a grandson. Carl loved wine as much as his life, but his alcohol tolerance wasn't very good. After drinking a bottle of wine, he fell asleep on the ground. The other 20 barrels were filled with a few thousand kilograms of wine. Each of the refugees in the gathering place had a bowl of wine, and they quickly divided it among themselves. As expected of a medium-grade poison-blended liquor, after drinking a few bowls of liquor, the refugees began to collapse to the ground one after another, their bodies appearing to be in a state of lethargy. "Hurry up, the status only lasts for 30 seconds. Chun Xiang roared when he saw the refugees lying on the ground. 10 people rushed into the gathering place of the refugees. In the game, the rations could be stacked as quest items. In less than 10 seconds, 800 rations were packed into everyone's backpacks. By the time the people in the refugee camp woke up, their food wall had already disappeared. Chuanjin and the others had already disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. These monsters did not have much intelligence. They could only give up when they saw the players stealing the food. Damn, it's done just like that. Everyone seemed to be in disbelief. A quest that was marked as extremely dangerous was completed so easily. Wuji said, "Yes, it's that simple. This quest doesn't even have a level." A quest without a level meant that there was a high degree of freedom. If they found the right method, they could complete it effortlessly. If they found the wrong method, it would be extremely dangerous. Fortunately, Chuanjin's people found the right method. Everyone was enlightened when they heard that. "I see." After returning to Sunset Village, Wang Yu found the old man. "We've brought the rations back." The old man still said in a mechanical tone, "Sir Hero, thank you so much. My son is a military officer at the outpost. This batch of rations was originally donated by our village. I didn't expect it to be stolen by those despicable thugs. Can you help me send it to my son?" After the old man finished speaking, Wang Yu and the others' quest had changed. The quest changed from snatching back 1,000 rations to sending the rations to the outpost at the front line. There were no carriages or other escortable items in the scene. Clearly, this was not an escort quest. However, Chuanjin's teleportation function was blocked. It seemed like they had to walk to the front line. Yu Huicheng belonged to the neutral zone. The neutral zone was an area that connected the two factions, so it was not far from the faction battlefield. According to the map, they just had to pass through the Sunset Corridor and walk to the end of the Sunset Mountains. After walking for a while, they would arrive. However, the deeper they went into the Sunset Mountains, the higher the level of the monsters. The wild monsters in each main city could reach up to level 100. There were also bosses. This was quite challenging for players at the current level. Since they had accepted the quest, there was no reason to cancel it. Xuanjin's people were opportunists. They believed that riches came from danger. As long as they had the slightest bit of confidence, they would dare to go all out. After resting for a while in Sunset Village, the 10 of them walked along the Sunset Mountains toward the quest location. Wang Yu was more familiar with the first half of the road. Wang Yu usually trained in the level 40 to 50 monster area, so he was very familiar with this place. He led the team through the level 40 to 50 monster area easily. Although the monsters in the latter area were of high levels, they were all normal monsters. Moreover, they were very sparsely distributed. The team avoided them if they could, and if they couldn't, they faced them head-on. They walked all the way to the end without any danger. What made everyone feel lucky was that they didn't encounter any bosses along the way. In Rebirth, the original bosses above level 50 were quite strong. Everyone had 100 rations, which took up a large portion of the load. If they encountered a boss along the way, it was impossible for there to be no casualties. At the end of the Sunset Corridor was a stone bridge. After crossing the stone bridge and walking along the road for about 20 minutes, the group finally arrived at the front line. Wang Yu led the team to the quartermaster and said, "You're George, right? Old George asked me to deliver the rations to you. Please count the number." When the quartermaster heard this, a hint of joy flashed in his eyes. "Thank you so much for delivering the rations from so far away." After handing over the rations, everyone in Xuanjin received 10 million EXP. Wang Yu's EXP bar, which was already more than half full, skyrocketed again. He was just a hair's breadth away from level 29. As for the EXP reward, the people in Xuanjin were quite unhappy. What AF * King hidden quest? They had to poison and run. After going through so much trouble for so long, they only got this EXP. That was too much. Is that all the EXP reward? Mingdu asked the quartermaster unhappily. EXP was something that could be easily obtained. No one would care about it. It was far less valuable than a skill book or a piece of equipment. Chapter 393. Genius 1 Second Remember Net, providing you with exciting novels to read. System notification. You've triggered a hidden quest. Survive. Current quest. The Final Fortress. Accept? Wang Yu was about to accept it when Wuji interrupted. "Mr. Quartermaster, can you tell us what the reward for this quest is?" The first two quests had both rewarded them with experience points. They had come all the way here just to get experience points. This made the people from the Quanzhun sect very annoyed. If this quest also rewarded them with experience points, they might as well not do it. The quartermaster hesitated for a moment before saying, "It's a guild treasure." Guild treasure? Wuji was shocked. He didn't expect the reward for this hidden quest chain to be this. Wuji had heard of guild treasures during the closed beta. They were also known as guild treasures by the players. There were 3 types. One was the guild gem that could forcefully upgrade a guild's level. It appeared in the form of a gem and could be used directly on a guild crystal to upgrade a guild's level. It was the most difficult item to obtain, and each guild crystal could only be used once. It was usually used to upgrade a guild's level to 5. Forcefully upgrading a guild to 6 levels was beyond valuable. Another was the guild fortress that could upgrade a guild's encampment level. This item was similar to equipment. It was divided into ranks and would increase the encampment's defense and area according to the rank. It was said that a legendary guild fortress could upgrade a guild's encampment to a city. The last one was called Guild Faith. This item appeared in the form of a landscape. It could be placed in the guild to provide a guild buff to guild members. Although its value wasn't as high as the other two, it was quite useful. All right, I'll accept it. Wuji nodded at Wang Yu after hearing that the final reward was this. Any one of these 3 guild treasures was priceless. Even if they only obtained the last one, they could make up for the losses from the previous 2 quests. System notification. You've accepted the hidden quest, Survive. Current quest, the Final Fortress. Description. Help the pursuers kill Master Alchemist Fitch and bring back one of Quartermaster George's lost special items. At the same time they received the quest, a blue dot and a red dot appeared on their map. The Quartermaster said to the group, "The Dark Faction has already sent people to receive Fitch. You must assist the pursuers and stop him before he returns to the Dark Faction's camp. Otherwise, if 2 special items reach the Dark Faction's camp at the same time, the battle lines on our side will collapse. We'll be in big trouble then." After the Quartermaster finished speaking, another notification appeared at the bottom of Wang Yu and the other's mission. Quest failed. Frontline retreat. Current level 1. F***CK your mother. Seeing this notification, everyone cursed out loud. This stupid quest actually had a penalty for failing. This stupid game was never quick to level up, and losing levels was a clean cut. Cursing was one thing, but since they had accepted the mission, it would be considered a failure if they canceled it. Everyone could only brace themselves and complete it. This was a time-limited mission. The blue dot should be the pursuers, the red dot should be the so-called receiving party, and the green dot should be Chuanjin's group. At the moment, the red and blue dots were about to move to the center of the map. They did not know whether the receiving party or the pursuers were stronger. However, based on the nature of this mission, the receiving party would definitely be stronger, as they had a boss to watch over them. Therefore, the most important thing now was to rush over before the pursuers were wiped out. Realizing this, everyone followed the route on the map without hesitation and ran in the direction of the 2 groups. The frontline sentry post, as the name suggested, was the edge of the battlefield. Along the way, there were scouts from both sides, as well as walking corpses that had absorbed the dark energy and resurrected. The 3 types of monsters were enemies, but once the players joined in, they also added Chuanjin's group to the hate list. Currently, Chuanjin's group was being chased by the allied scouts. These monsters were rather fast and could not shake them off. It was not that the experts of Chuanjin's group could not defeat these monsters, but these monsters belonged to the Light Faction. In the game settings, killing NPCs and monsters of the same faction would cause them to lose a lot of honor points. Chuanjin's group was extremely frustrated as they were being chased. It would have been fine if they were being chased by the corpse demons and shadow assassins, but why were they being chased by monsters from the Light Faction as well? After being chased, they had no choice but to kill a few monsters. Only then did they find out that, as this was a ceasefire zone, once they entered this map, there was no distinction between factions. No matter which faction monsters were killed, the honor points would not be reduced. After knowing this setting, everyone had no more worries and killed their way through. When the blue and red dots met, Chuanjin's group was already not far away. Do you guys think that after Fitch is killed, we can only get one of the special items? Wang Yu said while studying the mission. System quests often played with words. Hence, when players received a mission, especially a hidden mission from an intelligent NPC, they had to think carefully about the meaning behind it. Wuji thought for a moment and said, "Most likely so. Isn't there still a pursuer? According to the system's usual mission flow, the pursuer should also get one of the special items. When the time comes, whichever item we get will be our reward. Then we have to choose carefully when the time comes," Wang Yu said confidently. "Pick the one that's more valuable. If we can get both, how much do you think we should pay?" Mingdu was drooling all over the ground. Guild treasures were worth as much as a guild encampment. If they could get both, they would be able to earn a lot. Even if it was split among 10 people, the value would still be considerable. Wuji smiled and said, It's not like there's no other way. What way? The others asked in surprise. Chun Xiang chuckled and said, Don't tell me you want to kill the pursuer as well. That's right, Brother Chun. You're indeed ruthless. You take after me. Wu Ji smiled. That's against the rules. Wang Yu secretly frowned. No matter what, the pursuers were considered allies. Wang Yu obviously couldn't accept that they had killed their allies. Wu Ji said, How is it against the rules? This is a free zone. There are no factions here. Since the system placed the mission here, there must be a reason. If we really can't do it, we can wait until all the pursuers are killed before taking action. Killing with a borrowed knife? Wu Ji was indeed an expert at exploiting loopholes in the system. Even though he was shameless and dirty, he was still able to think of a way to get himself out of this mess. From this, it could be seen how sinister he was. Wang Yu asked this to find a place for his moral values. Although leaving someone in the lurch and defecting at the last minute were quite uncultured, Wang Yu quickly convinced himself that the pursuer was an NPC. All right, let's do that. Chapter 394. Reeks. As they spoke, the blue and red dots on the map stopped moving. It looked like the two sides had started fighting. The people from the Quan Zhun sect also saw the figures of both sides. When they got closer and saw the two sides, Chuanjin's people were stunned. Their players. Yang Na, who had the best eyes, was the first to speak. Players. Wu Ji was also very surprised. He didn't think that the pursuers and reinforcements mentioned in the quest were both players. Mingdu said gloomily, So they're players. Now it's not fun. Everyone was silent. For players, unless it was a two-way quest where they could steal the quest boss from each other, stealing someone else's quest boss was a very strenuous and unrewarding thing. Even Xuanjins and scrupulous people didn't like to do this kind of meaningless thing. Wu Ji reminded, Don't worry. Don't forget that we also have a part in this quest. Huh? Not bad. We also have a part in this quest, boss. Everyone was overjoyed. Since Chuanjin's people also accepted this quest, this boss also belonged to Chuanjin. Even if they stole it, they would still get 2 items. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go kill them. Mingdu yelled. Yu won. This. The others paused and looked at Wang Yu. Wang Yu didn't care and shrugged. Even though Wang Yu didn't support this kind of killing and stealing, Chun Xiang was right. It was a game. Killing people wasn't wrong. Stealing was even less of a problem. It was fine as long as they were happy. Wang Yu was just a bit more moral, but he wasn't a stubborn idiot. Since his friend wanted to do this, he wouldn't really stop them. Wu Ji laughed and said, Forget it. Let's wait for the reinforcements to finish off the pursuers, and then we'll go. The old plan didn't change, and everyone didn't have any objections. They quietly stood to the side and watched the two sides fight. Oh, the pursuers are very strong. After the battle lasted for a few minutes, the Quan Zhun people also realized something. The pursuing blue team and the supporting red team were both 10-man teams. Their equipment wasn't weak either, but the overall strength of the pursuing team was quite strong. In a situation where the reinforcements had a boss, they were still able to fight evenly with the reinforcements. Although the alchemist was only a level 30 gold elite boss, even with the current player's powerful equipment, they would still need a team to defeat it. While the blue team's pursuers were blocking the boss, they were able to fight the opposing team to a standstill. It was clear that they were much stronger than Blood Red Warflag. This was especially true since there was a green-robed female mage in the party who was chasing after Fitch. Each of her spells dealt over 1,000 damage to Fitch. Moreover, her left hand could continuously summon magic barriers that were a meter in diameter to block the enemy's long-range attacks in mid-air, buying more time for her teammates to deal damage. Yu too. Mages were also one-handed classes. That magic barrier was obviously an offhand skill. Offhand skills weren't rare for the people of Quan Zhun. However, to be able to accurately block magic arrows from different players while attacking the boss was an ability that normal people couldn't even learn even if they wanted to. Seeing the female mage's brilliant skills, even an expert mage like Mingdu couldn't help but click his tongue. F***CK. That woman's pretty good. She's pretty good. Not to mention the experts of Quan Zhun. Even low-level players could easily see the mage's strength. Old Li, this woman is evenly matched with you, right? Mingji and Dao Xue asked with a smile. Mingji and Dao Xue and Mingdu were from the same city and had a good relationship. Now that he saw that even a woman was so strong, he couldn't help but tease Mingdu. Unexpectedly, Mingdu, who had always been stubborn, didn't deny it. Instead, he said seriously, there's not much of a difference in skill. If she had an area of effect spell, she'd be about the same as me. Mingdu had even caused Wang Yu to suffer a loss. If even he had such an evaluation of the female mage, it could be seen that the mage's strength could really be considered as a super expert. This map was an endless plain terrain. At this time, both sides of the battle also saw the people of Quanzhen. Both sides couldn't help but be shocked. They thought to themselves, who are these guys that suddenly appeared? Could they be reinforcements from the other side? The blue side had the female mage. Although her strength was tyrannical, the opponent's boss wasn't much weaker. Both sides were now locked in a stalemate, and no one could do anything to the other. At this time, any random person would be the most important counterweight. However, after fighting for a while, when they saw that Quan Zhen's group didn't move, their hearts became increasingly heavy. When the sandpiper and clam fight, the fisherman benefits. Damn, these guys aren't trying to take advantage of the situation, are they? Thinking of this, the faces of both sides darkened. EU3. At this time, in the receiving camp, the leading witch doctor shouted, opposite side, if we continue fighting, no one will gain the upper hand. That's right. The female mage from the blue side also nodded and said, but our mission is to kill the boss and take one of its special items. The opposing witch doctor said, I think we can cooperate. How? The female mage furrowed her brows and asked doubtfully. The people on Quan Zhen's side were enough to affect the balance of both sides. The female mage still understood the rule of the big fish eating the small fish. She didn't dare to say that she would cooperate with the opposite side to kill Quan Zhen's group first. After all, she seemed to be the strongest side at the moment. If she did that, it was very likely that her own team would be the first to die. Thinking of this, the female mage was already prepared to refuse to cooperate. However, the opposing witch doctor said, our mission is also to bring a special item back to the camp. We can work together to kill the boss, and then each of us will get one special item. Everyone will be happy. How about that? The wisdom of the players was indeed endless. The system could arrange a two-way mission for them, and they could use the loophole of the system to turn the two-way mission into a win-win situation for both sides. Who asked this stupid mission to have such a high degree of freedom? Even the system couldn't find any fault with it. When the female mage heard the witch doctor's words, she was shocked. Of course, the female mage was shocked at the witch doctor's unique idea, but she didn't doubt his sincerity. This was because this boss belonged to the dark faction, and her mission was to kill the boss. Without the boss, the opposite side would definitely not be able to defeat her team. Hence, whether to give the special item to the opposite side was completely up to her, and she suddenly became the active party. Aren't you afraid that I'll run after killing the boss? The witch doctor's words were very honest. 2 special items. It's useless even if you have one more. We're all players. Can you still help the system? I don't want to be the fisherman who benefits from the fight. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.